Calling to order the regular meeting of the Wheeling Plan Commission for Wednesday, August 14th, 2024. Please stand for the pledge. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Commissioner Riles.
Here.
Commissioner Meyer.
Here.
Commissioner Casper.
Present.
Commissioner Sprague is here. Commissioner Smart.
Here.
Commissioner Heiken.
Here.
Chairman Johnson.
Here. Do we have any changes to the agenda this evening?
No changes.
All right, citizens' concerns and comments. Did anyone sign up for just the general citizens' concerns? Nope, looks like everybody's here for the public hearings. All right, we have one consent item on the agenda, PSP MIN 24-0027, request for approval to permit refacing of a monument sign for BP Super Save Mart at 11 East Dundee. Do I hear a motion?
Second.
2 seconds. I don't have.
Smart and Casper. Commissioner Smart.
Yes.
Commissioner Casper.
Yes.
Commissioner Riles.
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer.
Yes.
Commissioner Sprague is a yes. Commissioner Heiken.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson.
Yes, sorry. All right, any items for review? We have PSP MIN 24-0026, request for minor site plan and appearance approval for the installation of a fence for Red Cedar Fence Company for the property at 1111 West Dundee. Mr. Robles, anything?
No, this is not public.
No, that one's
That's a
not.
minor site plan.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
As stated, the petitioner is seeking minor site plan and appearance approval for the installation of a fence along the east property line between the subject property and Jack London Middle School. The fence is an open-style fence made of aluminum to emulate wrought iron in appearance, and staff is recommending approval subject to 2 conditions as stated in the staff report.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here for this one? Is the petitioner for this fence here? Come on up. Need you to state your name and business address for the record, please.
Yeah, my name is Rudy Cisneros. I'm with Red Cedar Fence, and I'm representing the owner of the premise.
Okay.
And they hire us to do the project because I guess like when school starts, all the kids go through that parking lot. And they were concerned that every time that the cars are driving by, that the kids might, run over or something, So we are doing just a 4-foot high, like a commercial grade fence, and just, pretty much to block the parking lot from going through, because it's right in, with the school.
Yep. Okay. Well, do a quick check, see if we have any questions. Commissioner Heiken?
No questions for me. Thank you.
Commissioner Smart?
No, thank you.
Sprague?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening.
Hi.
I just was wondering, over by your trash enclosure, are you going to butt the fence up to that, or how are you going to close the gap between that and the fence?
We are gonna put a fence that matches the same type of fence. So where the garbage is, there is a gap, I believe is, got the measurements here. It's about, each section is 6-foot sections, so it's gonna be an enclosure of 6 feet. So that way, nobody goes through there.
But it's going to butt up right to the trash enclosure, the wooden,
Yes. Yeah,
wooden
we are-
fence?
Yeah, but we are putting an extra post because that's a
Okay.
different material.
All right, great, thank you. That's
Okay.
all I have.
Commissioner Casper? No questions. Commissioner Meyer?
No questions.
Commissioner Riles?
No questions. Thank you.
And I had no questions. We have the conditions on this one, please.
Yes, the first condition is that the petitioner shall apply for and receive a building permit from the Community Development Department prior to the installation of the fence. And second is the fence shall be constructed with commercial-grade materials.
All right, with those conditions, do I hear a motion?
So moved. Second.
Meyer and Smart. Commissioner Meyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Smart,
Yes.
Commissioner Riles.
Yes.
Commissioner Casper,
Yes.
Commissioner Sprague is a yes, Commissioner Heiken,
Yes.
Chairman Johnson.
Yes. You're all set with,
Yes, we'll follow up with you on the next steps for permit.
Okay,
We'll do
thank
that-
you.
Do that tomorrow or the next day.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
all right, next up, we have a public hearing for PSU 24-0011, request for special use approval for the operation of a drive-through associated with an existing restaurant drive-through building for Fieri LLC, doing business as Cilantro Taco Grill, 749 North Milwaukee. Mr. Secretary?
All right. Fieri LLC, leasee is seeking special use approval pursuant to Title 19 zoning of the Wheeling Municipal Code, Chapter 19-10, use regulations and associated sections for the operation of a drive-through associated with an existing restaurant drive-through building located at 749 North Milwaukee Avenue, which is Zone MXC, Commercial Residential Mixed Use. A special use as defined in the zoning code is a use of parcel of land that requires review and consideration before approval due to the potential for negative impacts on the surrounding properties. In order to be considered for a special use, the petitioner is required to demonstrate through testimony to the Plan Commission at the public hearing that their request meets the standards of the village code, including but not limited to how the proposed use will not damage the enjoyment or use of the surrounding properties. Prior to the public hearing, the petitioner provides written statements meant to show that their request meets the standards for a special use as established in Title 19. The commission chairperson will typically direct that these statements be entered into the record without a full reading of them at the hearing. Based upon the testimony and supporting materials submitted, the Plan Commission will make findings in support of or against the petitioner's testimony and report those findings to the village board.
Thank you. Anything from staff on this one?
Oh, yeah, just briefly, the petitioner's looking to occupy the former Dunkin' Donuts restaurant space as shown in the red square there within the West End Plan Unit Development. Again, the space was formerly a restaurant, also with a drive-through. While zoning does allow for restaurants by right within the MXC district, drive-through does require special use. The Dunkin' Donuts has been closed longer than 6 months, therefore that existing special use expired. So the petitioner is seeking a new special use to operate the drive-through with the proposed restaurant. Staff is recommending approval subject to 2 conditions. First one, that a wheeling building permit shall be required prior to the start of any remodel work or modifications to the existing floor plan and/or the buildings. And 2, the wheeling sign permit shall be obtained prior to any exterior signage being installed, except for any exempt signage pursuant to Chapter 21-6 of the Wheeling Sign Code.
Thank you. Is the petitioner for this one here? Come on down.
Good evening, Roberto Sanchez. I am the owner of Fieri LLC.
Okay, it's a public hearing, so I need to swear you in. Raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're giving tonight to be the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Go ahead.
And, owner of Fieri LLC. We actually we leased the property under the belief that we would be able to use it, the actual drive-through. It was brought it to our attention afterwards, after signing the lease, that it needs a special use. So here we are. If there's any questions for me at all.
All right, we'll go down the line rather quickly here. Commissioner Riles, let's start down there.
Just, thank you so much, I appreciate it. Just curious, as far as the drive-through is concerned, are you gonna have like signage for people coming off of Milwaukee? Because from what I understand, you have to go into the parking area and around the backside to get to the drive-through.
We actually have a sign in front. It should be with the building commission as well. There'll be a drive-through posted in front of the building also stating that we have an actual drive-through. We also have 2 spots in front per the building owner stating that those will be drive-through parking spots. therefore not holding back the traffic that's also going through there, just precautionary measures, just in case there's a backflow of, which I hope there is.
Well, speaking of the backflow, from your experience, what's the average length of time for someone coming through the drive-through?
2, 3 minutes.
2 or 3 minutes tops?
Yeah, it shouldn't take any, this is a fast food restaurant. You're not gonna order, people don't generally go there, and if they do, they usually cater in. If they order something as large as 25, 50 tacos or tortas, but generally 2, 3 minutes in and out.
Okay. No other questions, thank you.
Commissioner Meyer.
I think you've answered most of my questions. I just had one pertinent to catering, and that's if somebody's coming to pick up a catering order, will they come inside?
Yes,
Okay.
they
thank
always
you.
do, yes.
Thank you very much. That's all.
Commissioner Casper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just out of curiosity, are you affiliated with the famous TV show person with the same last name?
No.
Okay, I wasn't sure. And I mean, he's pretty well known and he's all over the TV these days. Okay, that's all I wanted.
Commissioner Sprague.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening.
Good evening.
I just wanted to bring one item to light. On print sheets, in the information given, it says the occupancy is 35. Is that what, do you know what that's?
Inside?
Yes.
That would be the inside portion of it. Then there's also a patio outside that we'll use as well.
Okay. Well, the other thing is, you say there'll be enough seating for 31 to 32? Is that including the outdoor also?
No, there should be.
That's indoor?
Yeah, that's indoor.
And then employees, 4 to 6?
4 to 6 per shift. I think there was a miscommunication when we wrote that out. There's going to be 4 to 6. So depending on what our hours will be, and that'll be depending on your community, how receptive they are to our restaurant, will be every shift. So it'll be 2 or 3 shifts. So anywhere from 8 to 12
Okay,
employees.
so I just wanted to point out that if you go to the maximum amount that you have listed, 32 and 6, 32 for seating and 6 for employees, that's 38, and the occupancy is 35. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Okay. Do we apply for, I didn't take into consideration seating as far as employees. I thought occupancy was for the dining area, not the back portion of it, seeing as we are going to put a table or 2 in the back for break areas and such.
Yeah, what is the fire?
Yes, the occupancy wouldn't take into effect the employees in the back work area. Obviously, that would be considered separate. So what he has up front is appropriate, but we may need to change the number, complete number, based on that.
Okay, all right, great. Thank you. That's all I have.
Commissioner Smart.
Thank you. You have some restaurants in Chicago, right?
We are currently purchasing the one in Lincoln Park. I am not the president of Cilantro. I'm a franchisee, also buying a current location, and then this will be my first franchise location.
Okay. Thank you for coming to Wheeling.
Well, thank you for having us, and thank my son. He's the one who found the location, so.
Thank you.
Commissioner Heiken.
Yeah, my question is enough parking there. So how many, if you're full with 30, what did you say, 34 people, customers coming to sit down?
Yeah.
Where are they going to park? Because parking there is a mess.
It absolutely is a mess. From our experience of other locations that we've always visited, the capacity of whatever is in front generally exceeds whatever people are in. Remember, this is a fast food restaurant. We don't really have that clientele that sits there and will congregate at the location for hours. They usually come and go. That's why the drive-through is more essential to us than the actual seating inside.
Okay, so the other restaurants in the area have designated parking spots. Will you
We will
get
as
some
well.
too? Okay,
Correct.
that's all I have. And what are your hours going to be, or you don't know yet?
Right now, as stated from the franchise, or it's because we're just starting, it's 10 to 10.
That's all I have.
That can
And
change.
Thanks
Thank
for coming to Wheeling.
Thank you.
All right, my questions have been answered, so if there's no other questions, the conditions associated with this one?
Yeah, just summarize again that Wheeling building permit shall be required prior to the start of any work, remodel work, or modifications, and that a Wheeling sign permit shall be obtained prior to any exterior signage being installed except for exempt signage.
All right. With that, if there's no other questions, I would entertain a motion.
Casper and Meyer. Commissioner Casper.
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer.
Yes.
Commissioner Riles.
Yes.
Commissioner Sprague is a yes. Commissioner Smart.
Yes.
Commissioner Heiken.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson.
Yes. And then we need a motion to close this public hearing for docket 24-0011.
So moved.
Second?
Sprague, Smart. Commissioner Sprague is a yes. Commissioner Smart.
Yes.
Commissioner Riles.
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer.
Yes.
Commissioner Casper.
Yes.
Commissioner Heiken.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson.
Yes. And then related to this one, we have a minor building appearance for a change to the building facade. PSP MIN 24-0029. Also for Fieri LLC, doing business as Cilantro Taco Grill, 749 North Milwaukee. Anything additional on this?
Excuse me, yeah, essentially the existing vertical elements that were previously clad in kind of that brownish orange color from the Dunkin' Donuts would be converted to the cilantro green, and those would be the only elements that would be proposed to be changed there for the two facades. Staff recommends approval of that as well.
Anything you want to add to that?
It's essential to the franchisor's request because it is a franchise, it is a trademark logo colored, so we need it.
All right, I'll just ask if anybody on the commission has any questions on this? Nope, nope. All right, then, motion please.
So moved.
Second.
Meyer, Riles.
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer.
Yes.
Commissioner Riles.
Yes.
Commissioner Casper.
Yes.
Commissioner Sprague is a yes. Commissioner Smart.
Yes.
Commissioner Heiken.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson.
Yes. You're all set.
Good luck.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Staff will be in touch?
Yes.
All right, next we have PSU 24-0014, request to amend the special use for plan unit development approval for Wheeling Town Center for Wheeling Commercial Development LLC, 365 West Dundee.
Yes, so essentially as part of proposed new occupancy of the former CityWorks building, one of the contingencies was that the building needed to be purchased rather than leased. As a result, the Lot 8, as shown in the red square, needs to be subdivided to what would become Lot A and Lot B. This would essentially replace the approved plat as part of the final PUD, so this request would amend the PUD to replace the existing plat with the proposed plat. And then there's the plat itself, which is a preliminary final plat to create these lots that would go in front of the board for final approval.
All right, this guy looks familiar. Please state your name and business address for the record.
Brad Friedman, 375 West Dundee Road, Wheeling, Illinois.
Anything you'd like to add, sir?
I think Steve did an excellent job.
Okay.
It's on the record.
At review time. Let's see if anyone, Commissioner Heiken, anything?
Nothing for me, thank you.
Mark?
No questions.
Commissioner Sprague?
Nothing.
Commissioner Casper?
Without going into any detail, do you have a prospective purchaser in mind for this property?
We do, yes.
Okay, all right, I won't expect you to
That's
divulge.
okay, it was announced at a board meeting.
I'm sorry?
It was announced at a board meeting in the Daily Herald, so it's okay.
I wasn't aware. Thank you.
Don't worry about it. I'm glad you asked me a question. Now I had a reason to come here, so, you know.
Commissioner Meyer?
Thank you for being here. I have no questions.
Okay.
Commissioner Riles?
Thank you. I appreciate you coming too, and thank you for.
Come on, ask me a question.
Well, the
That's okay, don't worry about it.
no, the facility. Who's going to be occupying the space?
It's Moretti's,
Really?
yes,
Wow, that's very good.
yes. I hear a lot of hemming and hawing in the background. It was already announced, so I'm not spilling the beans, so. So,
Yeah, it was actually in the Daily Herald, yeah.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
we're all very excited.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you, congratulations, and continued success over there. Appreciate you. No other questions?
Any other questions from the group? Do we have any conditions on this one?
Yes, that there is a condition that, that the amendment to the PUD is contingent upon approval of the third amended plat. And then with regards to the plat itself, there are two conditions that the Cook County document recording number for the second amended plat be added to sheet 2, and then the correct address for the Village of
Getting
Wheeling.
ahead of me.
Sorry.
I think we did that already.
You may have, yeah.
Okay.
It's
I
quite.
got Marcy everything she needed, I
Okay.
believe, so,
Okay, that's good. So those.
Do I hear
that'll
a
make it
motion?
easier.
okay.
So moved. Second.
Meyer, Smart. Commissioner Meyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Smart,
Yes.
Commissioner Riles,
Yes.
Commissioner Casper,
Yes?
Commissioner Sprague is a yes, Commissioner Heiken,
Yes.
Chairman Johnson.
Yes.
So is that for D and E, both of them?
No,
That was
we
D.
didn't.
That was
Okay,
Steve-
gotcha.
Steve got ahead of me on that one. Related to this previous one, we have PSU BPP 24-0004, request for preliminary and final plat approval for Wheeling Town Center, Wheeling Commercial Development, 365 West Dundee. Anything to add, Steve?
No,
Okay.
nothing further.
Anything to add from you?
Not really.
Any questions from the group?
No.
Nope. Okay, then Steve already gave us the conditions, so a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Meyer, Heiken. Commissioner Meyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Heiken.
Yes.
Commissioner Riles.
Yes.
Commissioner Casper,
Yes?
Commissioner Sprague is a yes, Commissioner Smart,
Yes.
Chairman Johnson.
Yes. Thanks
Okay,
for
thanks,
coming.
guys. Long live the rewind.
No, thank you so very much. We appreciate your service.
Okay. Now we have PV 24-0008, request for a variation to reduce the minimum required side yard setback from 6 feet to 3 feet associated with the construction of a garage at 303 Center Street. Oh, Mike has readings on this one.
Mihai Blvd, is that, did I do that right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. 303 Center Avenue, Wheeling, Illinois. Property owner is seeking a variation as required in Title 19 zoning of the Wheeling Municipal Code, Chapter 19.04.050, R3A, Single Family Residential District and associated sections to reduce the minimum required building setback from the side property line for a detached accessory building from 6 feet to 3 feet associated with the construction of a detached garage located at 303 Center Avenue. A zoning variation is intended to be a method of adjustment to equalize regulations where the zoning code has created an unnecessary hardship. A variation is designed to allow affected property owners the same rights and privileges that others enjoy in the same zoning district. In order to be granted a variation, a petitioner is required to demonstrate through testimony to the Plan Commission at a public hearing that the request meets the standards of the village code, including but not limited to how their individual situation is unique or unusual. Prior to the public hearing, the petitioner provides written statements meant to show that their request for variation meets the standards established in Title 19. The commission chairperson will typically direct that these statements be entered into the record without a full reading of them at the hearing. Based upon the testimony and supporting materials submitted, the Plan Commission will make findings in support of or against the petitioner's testimony and report those findings to the village board.
Thank you. Steve?
Yes, thank you. The subject property, 303 Center, there was an existing detached garage on the property, and then a new garage was constructed in its place. The existing garage was a legal non-conforming garage. However, once that existing garage is removed, that legal non-conforming status is also removed, and therefore the new garage would have to be constructed to meet the new setback requirements of 6 feet. In this case, since a building permit wasn't pulled for the project, the village did not have an opportunity to confirm compliant setbacks, and the garage was constructed or in the process of being constructed. And as a result, the petitioners here seeking a variance to allow the garage to remain in place and then continue construction. As a result of that, staff is not recommending approval of this one, just due to, in staff's opinion, that the standards for variance have not been met.
All right. Need to swear you in. Swear the testimony you're giving tonight to be the truth.
Yes.
And please state your name and address.
Mihai Blvd, 303 Cedar Ave, Wheeling,
All
Illinois.
right. Tell us your story.
When my dad, yeah, he's over there. When he originally bought the house in March of last year, 2023, it was in rough shape, and then obviously we wanted to remodel it and make it a better living standard for me and my family to move into. We initially came, we had to try to pull permits to do a remodel on the house. We didn't have any plans or anything at the moment. We were just trying to gather information. We realized it was kind of out of our wheelhouse, to like get all subs, get all their information, have an engineer, an architect, and all those sorts of people involved. So my dad's brother, my uncle, his name is John Blvd. He also, he's a general contractor. So being within the family, my dad was like, why don't you just take care of all like the permits and all the hiring and all those items, which we didn't realize and we didn't check. He didn't do any of that. So that left us so it was just progressing, like everything was getting done. And then, we got a stop work order, and we were kind of like shocked. We were like, how is that possible? Like we thought we were in like the good, but it turns out that we were nowhere near that. So that's where he came to. I think, I assume he just went based off, he was like, the old garage is only 3 feet from our neighbors, I think is at 279 Center, and he just went in that path. And I don't know if like I should mention this now, but we have spoken to the neighbors, and we consider them the only people affected by this. I don't really see like any other people who'd be affected necessarily. I do have a letter from the owner of that property kind of making a statement that at the moment, like the way everything stands, it wouldn't bother him, since it originally was 3 feet, and it's still 3 feet now if you would like that. But we were just hoping that if in a sense you could forgive us for like the mistake of not like following through with that, and to allow us to like start from now and to do right and to finish it and leave it where it is without having to remove it, which would be a pretty big pain financially and time-wise as well.
Okay. Well, let's go to the commission. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak on this? Okay. Commissioner Riles, let's start down there.
Thank you. I'm just kind of curious, and I understand, you want to keep it in the family, especially if there's, a profession.
Yeah.
But, you ask for forgiveness, and I certainly understand that as well. But with your uncle and your father, why didn't you guys look into dotting the I's and crossing the T's as opposed to just acting?
My dad didn't spend a whole lot of time there. He also has like his own thing, and he kind of wanted to do that as well. And my uncle has been a contractor for a long time, and I assume he went this route of not like going official, you could say, just due to the nature of it being in the family, and like, let's just make it like easy in a sense.
Well, that's the point, everyone would love to make life easier for themselves.
Yeah.
But there's a responsibility.
That's true.
And there are codes that has to be met. And you can put your trust and your faith in your uncle, but now you see where you are based on negligence, more or less. It might be a financial hole that you're digging yourself into, no pun intended, but I say moving forward and looking forward, it's important, these things are put in place for a reason.
Yeah, it's a lesson like hard learned in a sense. We know it's gonna be a pain to get it to the end, and we're hoping we can kind of finish where it's left off. But from now, I know it should have been from the beginning to start on the right track, but hopefully we can at least start from now.
Yeah, I mean, it's important. You can't cut corners because you
Yeah.
want to make it easier and quicker and swifter. And just to get the permission from a neighbor around you to say, oh, it's okay, that's simply not how it works and operates.
Okay.
But I just want to, bring that to your attention, bring it to your dad's attention, and definitely bring it to your uncle's attention. That, these are codes and steps put into place for a reason. And being a part of this town and this village, you need to, abide by
I
that.
respect that, yeah.
All right? Thank you. No other questions.
Commissioner Meyer.
So I just want to clarify something you said earlier. When you started your conversation, you made mention of the fact that, construction can be complicated. Architects, engineers, et cetera, et cetera. At any point in time, did you or your family members go to the Village of Wheeling website or validate any information that's required for you as the homeowner as it pertains to permits?
No, we did not.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Commissioner Casper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So when the village cited you and issued a stop work order, did you respect that, or was there work continuing to go on?
No, that was respected. Nothing. It's the way it was. I mean, I assume these are the inspector's pictures. I assume so. If you go there now, it's identical. Nothing has been done.
Okay. Approximately what percentage of the construction is completed?
So it's fully enclosed. So I'd say just your rough framing and your roof is completed, and the outside sheathing. And
Can you give me a percentage?
I'd say around 50%.
Okay.
I'd say around that mark.
So just one last thing. I'm a little confused. There's a lot of information here, and we have a lot of information in our packet tonight.
Yeah.
I thought that I read and understood that you had given the responsibility for the permitting to a contractor, and you can't find the contractor, you don't know if he's still in business. That was what was in our packet, and then you came here this evening and said that the contractor was your uncle.
Yeah, and the contractor is he left the country, so that's
Okay,
that's
so
why
that
we
is
can't.
the same person.
It's the same person. This is just, I guess
Okay.
you can say, more detail.
Okay, all right. That's all I needed to know. Thank you.
Is that it? Commissioner Sprague.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening.
Hi.
What are your uses planned for this other than a garage? Any?
No, it's just a garage. I mean, just want to leave it open and have a place to store our cars in the winter because it does get.
Why do you have a sliding glass door on the back of it?
Why is there a sliding glass door in the back? I mean, there's
Usually
access
garages
to the-
don't have those.
I couldn't tell you. It's just there. It's like where we used to live before, we had a same situation with like a door on the side, and then there was always like something you could have on the outside and have access to that. So we have it there. So who knows? It could also be used as like you could have like tables inside if you want to have like people there, and just like during whatever parties you may have, and that area can be in the back for whatever it may be, whatever other people want to do. But it's nothing really special intended with it. It was just an extra as well. My dad had an extra sliding door and said, why not also put that there?
Just as long as you understand, no one can live in that.
Oh, no, it's not meant to be lived in, no.
Okay. I did talk to your neighbor also, and they did say that they didn't have a problem with your situation, but they did have one concern, and that was water runoff from the roof of the garage. So were you planning on putting a gutter on that at all?
Yeah, that was, of course, that was the intention. We knew that he kind of like had that sense that like the runoff, but with the gutter, it's, the runoff's pretty much non-existent after that.
Would that need to be a condition if this passed?
That would be part of the permit review. There's a condition that if approved, the Wheeling building permit would need to be obtained, and as part of that permit review would be not only building, but water runoff as well.
Okay.
Yeah, just like I said previously, we hope that if we continue from this place, and not we hope, but we will guarantee go fully through with all like the all the codes and everything that the village expects and requires from a building of this sort.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Commissioner Smart.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know the result seems really harsh, you know, but everybody else in Wheeling has to comply with the same law.
Yeah.
So why shouldn't you?
Why shouldn't we? Like, why should we be treated special in a sense, you could say?
Well, yeah, there are specific standards to allow a variation to go through, and it's set out in our packet. And one of them is that you did not create the problem. And it
Okay.
seems to me was self-imposed, right?
I think the only reason I could tell you, and probably the only thing would be like, just for like the financial hit of it and like the timeline hit of it. But other than that, I couldn't really tell you a problem that occurred. I think it was completely self-inflicted. I'll be completely honest with that.
Okay, all right, thank you. Nothing further.
Commissioner Heiken.
Yeah, I'll concur with the rest of the commissioners. Everything has been brought up, the importance of following procedure. Is there plans, what is inside? Is there a drain there for cars, is it pitched? We don't know any of that.
The concrete slab is pitched. That's what I can tell
And
you.
which way is it pitched? Is it pitched to the front, to the back, or to the side?
All I know is it's I'm not like really like on like the specifics of it, but it is pitched. It's not flat. I can tell you that. I'm just not sure which direction it's in.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Okay. Now, when you started building this, was a whole new foundation put in?
Yeah. Yes.
And we'll have to be sure that that meets code as well if we go along with this. And I assume you had plans of extending the concrete driveway, because you moved the garage back from where it was, from where the old one was. So right now you've got just a little section of gravel in between?
Just a little section of gravel there. Yeah. That
Right.
was that was the idea, to do that, to connect it so that it all be uniform in a sense.
And I know there's several garages in the neighborhood across the street that also were built on the 3 foot or maybe less off the property line. So I can understand where you were coming from on that. But the fact that you didn't get any permit whatsoever,
Yeah, that's the tough part. Yeah, we do know that.
that's hard to swallow.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the group? What are the conditions if this were to be approved?
Well, yes, that within 30 days from the granting of the variance by the Village of Wheeling Board of Trustees, the petitioner shall submit an application for a building permit to the Department of Community Development for the garage. Upon demonstration of compliance with all village regulations, the building permit shall be issued upon payment by the petitioner, in which the building permit fee shall be doubled pursuant to the schedule of village fees and charges. So essentially, the permit double fee is in the code, that if a structure is built prior to permit, then the fee is doubled.
Understand that?
Yes. That's okay.
All right. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Sprague and Meyer. Commissioner Sprague is a yes. Commissioner Meyer?
No?
Commissioner Riles?
Yes.
Commissioner Casper?
No.
Commissioner Smart,
No.
Commissioner Heiken,
No.
Chairman Johnson.
That was going to be a yes, so we have a 4-3 no.
So that will, do you want to close the public hearing, or I can?
Oh, you can continue talking.
So with that, we can move this forward to the village board. It would just go forward with the recommendation of no from the plan commission. The village board does review the plan commission's recommendation and is completely entitled to make their own decision,
Okay.
subject
So-
to the plan commission's findings.
So at the moment from this panel, it's a no.
Correct.
But then, I'm sorry, what did you say the other?
The village board.
The village board
of
is the
trustees.
ultimate decision?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and we'll be in contact on the next meeting date and provide you all that follow-up information, so you have that info.
We can be present at that, right?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely, yes. Yep.
All right, now we need a motion to close PV 24-0008.
So moved.
Second.
Meyer, Heiken. Commissioner Meyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Heiken,
Yes.
Commissioner Riles,
Yes.
Commissioner Casper,
Yes?
Commissioner Sprague is a yes, Commissioner Smart,
Yes.
Chairman Johnson.
Yes.
We're done, so you can enjoy the rest of your evening if you can. Thanks, yeah.
Okay, next up, we have PUD 23-0001, request for special use approval for final PUD approval for Forest View Subdivision for Forest View LLC, 350 East Dundee.
Good evening. Boris Stradievsky representing Forest View, the developer.
Anything from the staff before you?
Yeah, essentially, this is the final PUD, Plan Unit Development, which is a follow-up from the preliminary Plan Unit Development for the same proposal. As the Plan Commission will recall, the public hearing on the preliminary was held back in January and then continued February this year, and then ultimately the preliminary PUD was approved by the village board on March 4th. The petitioner submitted all the documents for the final PUD, and on the whole, there is compliance with the preliminary PUD, but there is one minor change, which is not, it's very minor, and that's subject, results from the Illinois Department of Transportation and their requirement that the two curb cuts, and I apologize for going through these quickly, but the two curb cuts on Dundee Road are to be modified from their current configuration. From the preliminary to the final, the petitioner did get the confirmation from IDOT on this, and so this eastern driveway here would be modified from a full access to a right-in, right-out, and then this western driveway here would be limited to a right-out. Staff is in support of that and accepts that, and that is subject to the IDOT requirement. That's really the only significant, and again, it's not a significant change at all. It's in conformance.
It's significant for us.
Yes, it is for you, but from
I see it.
the preliminary, from preliminary to final, it's a minor change that doesn't result in anything significant from a zoning review purpose, and as a result, staff does recommend approval of the final PUD, and I believe there are 6 conditions as stated in the staff report, just cleanup matters.
Yeah, we'll get to those.
regarding that, yeah.
We may have more.
Okay.
Good evening, sir.
Welcome.
So I have my son here and our attorney, my wife, so we're all here to answer your questions. As Steve just said, that's pretty much it. I think we complied with everything was requested, and really unhappy about the right-in and right-out, but it is what it is. It's an IDOT requirement, not a village thing, and no one else's position here other than IDOT, and they're in control. So we have to follow what the requirements are, and we are. Otherwise, nothing's changed since the day we submitted, other than whatever was required by staff. We complied with every request that they've had, and we're back here to see you guys, gentlemen and ladies.
Okay. Well, let's see what we have. Let's start to change things up. Commissioner Sprague.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening.
Good
sir.
evening. Welcome back.
Thank you.
I just wanted to go over again that north fence line, those trees really need some work.
And they will.
And I want to make sure.
They're part of our landscaping plan.
Okay. I just want to make sure that you're going to clean that up
Yes, sir, and we are. We just, we're not working on landscaping right now, simply because it's end of the season. There's really nothing we can plant that's going to survive it. So the plan is, and we discussed this with staff, to do plantings and landscaping next year, beginning of season. Actually, that part's not gonna get occupied until then anyway, so, yeah.
It's just, it's really
100%, sir.
going into the people to the
100%.
north there.
Of course.
Yeah, it's nasty. Okay, and then you are planning on having 2 trash enclosures?
We are, yes.
Okay.
One is internal, one is external.
Okay. Thank you, that's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Casper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just looking at the great big whole picture, and this is probably best directed for staff, has there been any interest in the old Don Roth property, which is kind of in this area? And I don't know that there's anything else that isn't developed around there.
There hasn't been serious interest. There's been interest, but it's been uses that aren't consistent with the recently approved Milwaukee Avenue Restaurant Row corridor plan, so.
Okay, all right, that thing is just sticking out, and I know that's not part of your project, and if you were interested in it, you would have obviously let us know.
Commissioner, we actually, staff requested and we complied to provide an easement, a cross easement for the property to the north, even though there's no user for it. We did comply with that as well.
Well, thank you very much. I think this is going to be a great addition to the village, and
Thanks, sir.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Commissioner Smart.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This looks great.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you.
No, this looks good. Thank you very much for hanging in there and going through the whole thing.
A year and a half.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Meyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I very
Good
much
evening.
appreciate your comprehensive submission with your 24 attachments to try to address all our questions. So having said that, I have no questions.
Thank you so much. Really, that's the best question, you know?
Commissioner Heiken.
Yeah, I have no questions either. It looks very nice, long time
Thank you, sir.
coming, and thanks for your patience.
Thank you so much. We tried.
And
That's all I have.
Commissioner Riles.
Thank you. I don't have any questions.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, I had a couple yet. Now, you're converting what was the mechanical penthouse to another residential floor, correct?
Yes, sir.
And there is currently an elevator in that building?
Yes, sir.
Up to
There's
the-
2.
Up to the 3rd floor?
Yes, sir.
And you are able to extend it?
We
to the
are.
4th
We're
floor?
extending one shaft, not both elevators, one elevator up to the 4th floor. And we've already retained an elevator, company to modernize both elevators, American hoist and elevator.
How is the trash handled by the residents?
Sure. So we have trash chutes, that are on every on every floor, and the trash is dropped into the one trash enclosure, which is enclosed with the same kind of material that we are showing through the building to uniform, and then from there the trash is picked up, by the trash company, and we have a second enclosure for the commercial use.
I didn't see any trash chutes allowed for on the,
Well, the set you're looking at is actually not the building set. That building set is with staff and it's being reviewed. Actually, we already received comments on it and we're submitting back edited comments. That's actually the case.
Yeah, there is an internal, as petitioner stated, there is an internal trash collection area. That's
Okay.
for primarily the residents. And then there's a exterior trash enclosure,
Right.
which is more for the retail
I
and
knew,
commercial.
I knew about the dumpsters and, but, because I think we talked about it at the previous meeting.
Yeah, they both will look the same to uniform, both products, but just one is located for residential and the other one's for commercial.
Now, the IDOT decision does definitely impact you,
Commissioner?
because if you're coming,
Believe me, we tried, but
If you're coming down
we have
Milwaukee
issues.
Avenue-
Kyle and our engineer, who's also present here, went at it for a while, and it is what it is. I mean,
Yeah, if you're
I've
com-
owned, our family have owned the building since 2005, and everyone ever was always making a left turn out of there. It's a little dangerous, I don't dispute it, and you're going across 2 lanes and a center divider, so I could see why they did that, but is that good for us? No.
And the west drive is also a right,
Yeah,
right out.
there's no way to make that left turn, because there's actually a concrete divider, so I think no one's.
I've seen people do it.
And you know what? People do all kinds of things, so, yeah.
Yeah, so if you're coming from the north, it's tough to get into your property.
It's like the previous, petitioner for the Cilantro restaurant to get in there and to get out of there.
Yeah.
But if you want to go there, you'll have to do that. So it's one of those things. We're, actually, I know staff's aware of that. The first floor is occupied by medical offices, and then eventually I think we're going to come back for, something like a urgent care facility for the first floor. I would think that would be a phenomenal addition to the village because we don't have such facilities in town. And so the doctors that are leasing the facility on the first floor are discussing it amongst themselves, and there's a licensing issue. So once that's settled, we're going to bring that to staff for review and discussion. I think it'll be phenomenal. If we can get them to do it, it'll be a great addition to the because we don't have anything like this,
Yeah. Is there anything else pending from the preliminary?
No.
They've covered?
Yes, all the
pretty much
conditions have
everything?
been met, yeah. The new conditions are related to permitting items that are needed, before we can release permits, things of that nature.
Okay. How about the fire department on this one? Any issues?
Not yet. It's a fully sprinklered building, and, I think the upgrades will be great, and it'll be a safe living complex.
Yeah, we're installing a completely new system in there because commercial use versus residential
Right.
is a different product. And so, the system's already been semi-submitted for review. The vendor is a local wheeling vendor, so that's pretty much where we're at.
Engineering, anything?
No, we've been working with the design engineer on the stormwater management for the new impervious and the ingress egress based on IDOT's comments, and yeah, we really don't have any concerns.
All right. Then let's get to the conditions.
Yeah, there are 6 stated conditions, and that prior to the recording of the final plat, which is the second item, developer impact fee shall be submitted pursuant to Wheeling Village Code. Building permits will not be issued until the final plat of the forestry subdivision is submitted to the village. Financial surety covering the cost of all landscape, plant materials, and installation shall be submitted to the Community Development Department as part of the permitting process. Separate wheeling sign permits will need to be obtained from the Community Development Department prior to any installation of exterior signage. All of the agency permits, Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, Illinois Department of Transportation, Illinois Environmental Protection Agency, et cetera, shall be obtained prior to the issuance of permits and prior to issuance of any certificate of occupancies for any residential units. The petitioner shall provide community development a copy of the document to be included with lease agreements informing residents of potential flooding situation and of the need to move their vehicles under certain weather conditions.
So if I may, I think I heard you in the beginning of the stipulations about the permit issue.
Yeah.
We did have a discussion, and we believe that since the first floor is zone commercial, we're going to be able to continue with the first floor for
This would be.
partial
this
occupancy.
would
I
be,
just
yeah.
want to make sure.
Yeah,
that
there's separate. items there,
Understood.
yeah.
No issue. Thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
With those conditions, are there any other questions from the group? All right, then how about a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Smart and Meyer. Commissioner Smart.
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer.
Yes.
Commissioner Riles.
Yes?
Commissioner Casper.
Yes?
Commissioner Sprague is a yes. Commissioner Heiken.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson.
Yes. And as part of this same development, we have PSU BFP 24002, request for final plat approval for Forest View Subdivision for Forest View LLC, 350 East Dundee. Steve, anything further on this?
No, nothing further to add.
Right. Any questions from the group on this? Nope. Okay. Motion, please.
So moved.
Meyer, Casper.
Casper.
Commissioner Meyer.
Yes.
Commissioner Casper.
Yes?
Commissioner Riles.
Yes.
Commissioner Sprague is a yes. Commissioner Smart.
Yes.
Commissioner Heiken.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
All right, thanks.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have docket number PV 24-0009, request for a variation to increase the maximum allowable sign area for a changeable copy sign for the Village of Wheeling, 2 Community Boulevard. It's a public hearing, so please do your thing.
A petition from the Village of Wheeling, 2 Community Boulevard, Wheeling, Illinois, seeking a variation from Title 21, Signs of the Wheeling Municipal Code, Chapter 21.3.b, ground signs on commercial, industrial, and institutional property and associated sections to permit an increase in the maximum allowable sign area for a changeable copy sign for the property located at 2 Community Boulevard, Wheeling, Illinois. A zoning variation is intended to be a method of adjustment to equalize regulations where the zoning code has created an unnecessary hardship. A variation is designed to allow affected property owners the same rights and privileges that others enjoy in the same zoning district. In order to be granted a variation, a petitioner is required to demonstrate through testimony to the Plan Commission at a public hearing that the request meets the standards of the village code, including but not limited to how their individual situation is unique or unusual. Prior to the public hearing, the petitioner provides written statements meant to show that the request for variation meets the standards established in Title 21. The Commission chairperson will typically direct that these statements be entered into the record without a full reading of them at the hearing. Based upon the testimony and supporting materials submitted, the Plan Commission will make findings in support of or against the petitioner's testimony and report those findings to the village board.
Thank you. I assume Kyle's going to handle it? Okay, so, got to swear you in.
Yep.
You swear the testimony you're giving tonight to be the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and business address, please.
Kyle Getzelman, 2 Community Boulevard, Wheeling, Illinois.
All right.
So I come tonight before you for seeking approval, appearance approval for a new monument sign and message board sign, which can be seen in the slide above there. Also seeking a variation, which I'll explain a little bit later. The sign, as you see it here, and as it's located right outside this window to the north of our building here. We're looking to increase the size of the sign. I'm not sure exactly what the size is now, but we're going to be increasing it to 10 feet wide by 6 feet tall. We're also going to be increasing the resolution, and as you can see, we're also going to be changing the appearance, not so much the styling, but it's going to maintain a similar style. Obviously, the community campus there in the middle is going to remain the same. Columns on the side are going to be extended height-wise to accommodate the new sign there. So there should be a landscape plan here as well. So in addition, so it looks like the landscape, there was no landscaping out there in front of the sign originally, so we're going to install some landscaping according to the plan you see right there. So that's kind of it as far as the appearance of the sign. So the variation that we're seeking for this particular sign is for the display size. I believe the display size allowable is 50 square feet. We're looking to have a sign that's 64 square feet. I know it's a little bit bigger than the 6 foot by 10 foot that I mentioned. I think it's actually 6.5 foot by 10 foot. So that's where the 64 square feet comes into play. We're seeking this variation because of the nature of this sign as a message board for the Village of Wheeling. And we feel that, increasing the sign offers greater visibility to the motoring public and those going by to see current events and news that the village has to portray.
Thank you.
That's all I really had, unless you have some questions.
Well, we'll see.
Sure.
Anyone have any comments or questions on this down at this end? Other end? Okay. Any conditions on this one?
No.
Anybody from the public sign up to speak on this one? Nope. I think they're all saving up. All right, a motion, please.
So moved.
Aye.
Sprague and Smart. Commissioner Sprague is a yes. Commissioner Smart?
Yes.
Commissioner Riles?
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer?
Yes?
Commissioner Casper?
Yes.
Commissioner Heiken?
Yes.
Chairman Johnson?
Yes. Then we need a motion to close the PV 24-0009.
So moved.
Second.
Meyer, Casper. Commissioner Meyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Casper.
Yes.
Commissioner Riles.
Yes.
Commissioner Sprague is a yes. Commissioner Smart,
Yes.
Commissioner Heiken,
Yes.
Chairman Johnson.
Yes. And related to this, we have docket PSP MIN 24-0028, request for minor appearance approval to modify the existing monument sign for the Village of Whaling to Community Boulevard. Already pretty much described what that is. If there are no conditions or questions,
So moved.
Second.
Sprague, Meyer. Commissioner Sprague is a yes. Commissioner Meyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Riles,
Yes.
Commissioner Casper,
Yes.
Commissioner Smart,
Yes.
Commissioner Heiken,
Yes.
Chairman Johnson.
yes.
All right, thank you very much.
When do they expect to get this?
It's got to get approved by the board first, and then Parvin Klaus, who's our contractor for it, is going to have to construct it. I would suspect probably mid to late fall by the time all the necessary approvals are obtained and the sign's constructed. But it should be this year.
Good. Yep, thanks.
No problem.
All right, next up, we have 3 items that are all related to a proposed plan unit development. We're going to open up both of the public hearings so they can be discussed together, and we'll be voting on each one individually. The first one is PRZ 24-0002, request for rezoning property in question from R1 to R4 to allow for multifamily residential. You want to read that one first?
Capital Development Group USA LLC developer seeks a rezoning from R1 Single Family Residential Zoning District to R4 Multifamily Residential District pursuant to Title 19 zoning of the Wheeling Municipal Code, Chapter 19.14, Ordinance Administration and associated sections for the property located at 5 Meadow Lane and 200 Meadow Lane. A rezoning as defined in the zoning code is an amendment to the map and/or text of the zoning ordinance to effect a change in the nature, density, or intensity of uses allowed in a zoning district and/or on a designated parcel or land area. In order to be considered for rezoning, the petitioner is required to demonstrate through testimony to the Plan Commission at a public hearing that the request meets the standards of the village code, including but not limited to how the proposed zoning is desirable in the village and is compatible with and contributes to the surrounding land uses and zoning. Prior to the public hearing, the petitioner provides written statements meant to show that the request meets the standards for a rezoning as established in Title 19. The commission chairperson will typically direct that these statements be entered into the record with a full reading of them at the hearing. Based upon the testimony and supporting materials submitted, the Plan Commission will make findings in support of or against the petitioner's testimony and report those findings to the village board.
Thank you. And then we also have PPUD 23-0005 requesting special use approval for a preliminary plan unit development for the subdivision being discussed.
Capital Development Group USA LLC property owner is seeking special use approval for preliminary planned unit development approval as required in Title 19 zoning of the Wheeling Municipal Code, Chapter 9-10, use regulations and associated sections for a proposed 48-unit townhome development known as the Highlands at Prairie Park on a around 7-acre site located at 5 and 200 Meadow Lane, which is currently zoned R1 single family. A special use as defined in the zoning code is a use of parcel of land that requires review and consideration before approval due to the potential for negative impacts on surrounding properties. In order to be considered for a special use, the petitioner is required to demonstrate through testimony to the Plan Commission at a public hearing that the request meets the standards of the village code, including but not limited to how the proposed use will not damage the enjoyment or use of the surrounding properties. Prior to the public hearing, the petitioner provides written statements meant to show that the request meets the standards for special uses established in Title 19. The commission chairperson will typically direct that these statements be entered into the record with a full reading of them at the hearing. Based upon the testimony and supporting materials submitted, the Plan Commission will make findings in support of or against the petitioner's testimony and report those findings to the village board.
Thank you. Steve, anything?
Go over the process.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so since we have a lot of people here and people may have not been part of a public hearing process before, I just kind of wanted to summarize the steps in order of the procedure for tonight. So first, the petitioner, staff will give an overview of the project. Then the petitioner will be able to give their presentation on the project, both on the rezoning aspect and on the PUD. Once they're done, anyone who has questions about what they said or about the project that's within the purview of the Plan Commission will have the opportunity to ask those questions. How we usually do it is we have all the questions be asked first, so that you can hear the questions, and then at the end of that, the petitioner will be able to respond to those questions and answer them. Once the questions are done and they answer those questions, then anyone who is seeking to introduce evidence, that means you have your own independent evidence, facts, aspects about this project, would be able to present that. Once that is done, then anyone who has general comments, thoughts, opinions would be able to give those comments, thoughts, and opinions, and those are limited to 5 minutes apiece. And then the petitioner has the last say as a reply to all of that, and then it would be the commission's turn to talk and ask questions of the petitioner, and the public's participation would be done at that point. So we'll go through, but there's a big difference between evidence and then just general comments. So evidence is obviously information, facts, objects, et cetera, to support or prove facts in dispute related to this project, whereas obviously if there's just general comments, opinions, questions, those would be done during the public comment period unless you have a specific question for the petitioner. So that, I can turn it over to Steve.
Thank you.
Thanks. As stated, there is 2 public hearings and then a third item regarding the preliminary plat. Rezoning from the R1 single family to the R4. The subject property is currently west of the existing Prairie Park at Wheeling condo development and townhome, the villas at Prairie Park Townhome. In order to accommodate the multifamily PUD, the R4 zoning district is being sought. That is consistent with the mixed-use open and residential designation of the comprehensive plan. All this is for the Highlands or Prairie Park subject plan unit development to develop 48 townhome units within 8 buildings within the land that has been vacant, again, west of the existing Prairie Park development. Staff report pretty much provides a comprehensive summary of the land use and the elements of the project, which the preliminary PUD does have quite a level of detail in it, and I'll leave that to the petitioner. I did want to make one clarifying note. There are 4 stated PUD departures in the staff report. Within all plan unit developments, there's the ability to have departures, which are deviations from the zoning code, but because it's a plan unit development, are not variances, they're simply departures. There was one additional departure that was inadvertently omitted. There is a setback on the northwest corner that currently is at 22.5 feet, and a 30-foot setback is required. There is a PUD deviation already being requested for the west setback. However, the north setback was again inadvertently omitted from the request of deviations. Because it's a deviation, staff would like to add that into the list of deviations to encompass this, the preliminary PUD, and we could rectify that prior to any further action. It's more of a Scrivener item. With that, staff is recommending approval of the rezoning as well as the plan unit development and the associated preliminary plat, and there are various conditions with each one of those items.
Thank you. And I take it the petitioner is here.
Yes, hi, Jamie Smith for Capital Development Group USA LLC.
Do you swear the testimony you're giving tonight to be the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
So we're excited to be here tonight. As Steve stated, we want to do 48 units.
in 6 buildings, 8 units per building on the approximately 7 acres located directly west of the existing Prairie Park. When the original Prairie Park plan, a little over 20 years ago, was being developed, the village had the foresight to plant an easement in there to this site because they knew that eventually that was going to be the only route of access, because of currently Meadow Lane is it's a gravel road with, you know, it's in really poor shape, and part of this will at least help make that emergency portion that we're going to be putting a little bit nicer. So as you can see here, the project is located directly west of the existing Prairie Park. Here's your survey as the land sits today. Here's an elevation of a rendering done from the front so that you can see the ins and outs. We did work quite a bit with staff from our initial design to really give, not just from the building perspective, depth, so that you didn't see it as one long building for each one, but also the landscaping with the columns and the urns and everything we incorporated into the site work to really create that sense of not just looking like one complete, you know, one straight building. At the center of the site will be a formal garden. Our goal is to create a natural look on the outside with the elevation as you're looking up the Highlands from the clubhouse to the east. A really beautiful formal garden that residents can walk through and enjoy. And here's a little bird's eye elevation looking from the southwest corner towards the northeast. So as I said, the site here, you can see you're looking at 6 buildings, 8 units per building. You've got 2 to the north and 1 to the west that we would start construction with and work in a horseshoe coming down to the south. And our goal is so that as residents begin to move in, we're not inundating them with construction, so that we're hoping to have the north side done as we move down to the south, so that residents can use this right of way and keep the construction traffic then to the left, to not, because we are looking at approximately a 20-month process of construction. Here are your front elevations, not as nice as the renderings, but gives you an idea of the different color schemes and the materials. Rear elevations with decks to the north, west, and south buildings, and patios for the centrally located buildings facing the park. And here are your building materials. I do have our architect and our engineer here tonight to answer any questions. Unfortunately, our landscape architect was not able to make it. Here are your foundation plans, your first floor plans. All of these units are first floor master bedrooms. On the first floors, you'll have your powder room, laundry, kitchen, living room, dining room. They are great rooms. And your first floor master with your first floor master bath. Your second floors will consist of 2 bedrooms upstairs, a bonus loft area, and a storage room for additional space. Your 2 centrally located units will also have attic space, that central dormer that you saw on the elevations, adding approximately 360 feet of attic space. 4 of your central units will have bump outs in the master bedrooms for a seat area, making the master bedroom feel a little bit larger. And then your end units are a little bit wider and obviously have more windows on both sides. Side elevations and front elevations, these don't have color. I think the renderings do a little bit better depiction of what the buildings will look like themselves. Here are some of the details. This is the urn, kind of in a Frank Lloyd Wright style, that will sit atop of your stone columns. This will be the fencing, an aluminum fence that's made to look like wrought iron. The mailboxes, they won't be this color, but that gives you an idea of what they look like. I think we're probably gonna change that to a darker color, and we will submit that. Your benches and your central your central statue located in the center of that formal garden that we spoke about. Here's our lighting plan. If you do have any questions about this, our architect can go into those at length. As I said, our landscape plan, our landscape architect is not here, but we do feel that we've really provided a robust landscape plan that gives you that formal garden in the center and surrounds with a natural look to really complement the existing landscaping that exists at the villas and the Prairie Park condo complex. And this just breaks it up to the north and the south, as well as some more details regarding the actual plantings. And here's your formal garden with more details. Our irrigation plan, the site will be fully irrigated, as was the village project. Obviously, with the amount of landscaping we're going in, we want to make sure that these plants stay healthy and irrigated. Truck turn analysis done. And I'm not sure our engineer is here, but I know one of the staff comments was about the wrong apparatus being used. I think we may have already submitted the correct one as well. And then once again, if we do have any engineering plans, or I'm sorry, questions with Kyle, Cliff, our engineer, is here tonight, and he'd be happy to answer any of those questions. Some more details just showing the fence and the stone columns that will be used. And as you can see here, the urn sitting on top of those stone columns will be not only at the forefront as you enter the site, going up the hill, but as well as breaking up the entries of the individual doorways at the front elevations of all the units. And with that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
So we'll open up to questions. Yeah, wait, I'll make a note, but we're gonna take all their again, we're gonna take all questions first, and then they'll be able to address them at the end, so it's not gonna be an immediate answer. It is a public hearing, so anyone who's planning on asking a question or giving evidence or providing comment, if you could all stand up at one time, even if you change your mind, we'll swear everyone in at one time, so to make it go a little faster.
Would this be if we signed up to speak?
Yes, if anyone signed up to speak, go ahead and stand up now, and we'll swear you in. If you think you're going to speak, stand up. Yeah, if you're going to speak and ask questions, stand up. And if you're going to talk, if you're going to come up to the podium, stand up now. Everyone raise your right hand, please.
You swear your comments, testimony tonight will be the truth?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So now, if someone has, everyone can sit down. If you have questions of the petitioner, we can come up and ask them. Obviously, listen, or try to avoid repetitive questions. And we'll go from there. So if anyone has any questions, you can step up.
I just had a quick clarification. I think in the beginning, I heard.
Hang on, we need your name and
Oh, I'm sorry,
address.
Diane Gilmore, live at 100 Prairie Park.
Thank you.
I think the introduction thing that you were saying said this was 8 buildings, which would be 6 in.
No, eight units, 6 buildings.
Okay, because then I heard that later. I wasn't sure. Okay, just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Next, come on up.
Lori Gumbiner, 100 Prairie Park. So I have a couple questions, mostly clarification questions.
Could you bring the mic a little closer, please?
Couple questions
You can bring it down to you. There you go.
for 5-2. Okay. So north-south, when the buildings end in that space, what goes in that space? I could show you. Down there, up there?
Up
Yeah.
here.
What is that? Is it green space? Is it building?
We're gonna take the questions
And then he'll answer them all at the end.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, so that was one question.
That's okay.
Okay, then the bigger question, the one that most sits in my mind, the water retention area just to the west of that used to be a big open area and would fill up when the rains come. All summer now, that is now filled in completely. And on one side of it, the water comes up almost to the edge. I'm just wondering, I know there's a lot of thought given to where the water runs off, but now you're going to have a lot more water running off, and I'd love to understand how that's going to be treated, especially now that we're getting heavier rains more frequently. That was one question.
Okay.
Okay.
I was wondering the walking path, if that was going to be maintained into the water retention area, and how close the buildings were going to come to that walking path. And then it looks, and just clarification, how much of the foliage is going to be removed to the west of the property right now there's lawn, and then there's all that natural area, and I was curious how much of that natural area was going to be removed. Those are pretty much my questions.
Okay, great, thank you.
Next.
I would like, well, I guess I don't need it down so far. Oh, my name is Kim Peterson, and I live at 45 Prairie Park Drive. One of my questions is about the storage area in the units. If the ceiling is more like, if it's a incline, or if it's a high ceiling, or just a regular ceiling type of thing. I also just wanted verification, the only sidewalks go around the inside ring, and then there's 2 sidewalks going down towards Prairie Park, and then a little one at the top up there. So otherwise, people, if they're not walking on those spaces, they'd be walking in the street. That's just comments on that, I think would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
My name is Henry Flicker. I live at 40 Prairie Park Drive, Unit 203. Looking at the plans, I heard in the very beginning that the only means of egress and exit from that new development is through that dirt road that's supposed to be developed into a proper driveway. If this is the case, is there any other means of emergency egress to this property, or is everything going to go through Prairie Park Drive? Prairie Park Drive has a pretty narrow ring road, which I think would be a little bit too optimistic to make sure that, to ensure that all the emergency vehicles and all the regular traffic is going to go through there. Prairie Park Drive has only 2 exits from the property onto the Wolf Road, one through the Wolf Court, and the other, which allows us to go to Milwaukee Avenue, and the other one is going south on Wolf Road, and it exits exactly where the road narrows from the 2-lane to 1 lane. So other than pre-existing conditions right now, I think we'll be adding to the problem, and I would like to know how it's going to be resolved to ensure safety of the residents.
Okay.
Hello. My name is Anna Trevas. I live on Meyerson Way.
Bring the mic down for, thank you.
I'm very short. I live on Meyerson Way. I have a question, more question. So where Picardy and Meyerson meet, there is a little fountain, which is beautiful. And it's a very easily accessible parking situation for any construction vehicles that may be doing work on that side. And I would like to ask, and if the answer is yes, I would like the village to vote against that, to not allow any construction vehicles on our little Picardy subdivision, because I don't want that to impede anybody. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Nick Chaconis, 540 Meyerson Way. We're going to be the house right next to the subdivision. Have a ton of questions as far as the emergency exit. I have no idea what their plan is. And we've had several run-ins with that area, and as far as their construction, it's kind of a mess. They need to explain what they're going to do to keep down the mess and the dust and the debris and trucks lining up on Meyerson and Picardy. There's no way in the world they're going to run trucks through that big of a development through just one entrance. There's going to be something happening, and it's going to be a mess. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. So we need an explanation of how they're going to do all this and how the work is going to take place. Thank you.
Hello, Mike Trevas. I live on Meyerson. So my question is, we're going to add 100 to 150 cars to rush hour on Lake Cook, Milwaukee, Dundee, Strong, which are always packed. You cannot go through, takes you 40, 50 an hour to pass a mile. Are we concerned about that? That's a question to you guys, not to them. Do we have any concern about that? That's a lot of cars. Thank you.
We've got someone else coming up already.
Sorry, real quick. Just one question. Faye Lemberg, 45 Prairie Park Drive. Quick question, kind of a little bit similar with the cars, because there doesn't appear to be enough space for people to visit, to park in the development, and that seems like a real problem to me with all, because there really isn't any space. It doesn't appear to be any space for parking on the street. Certainly, you wouldn't be any space for parking on the street if you had to have an emergency vehicle go through. So that's my question.
Gary Barra, 6 Meadow Lane, and I am the property owner here in the southwest corner of the development. And I'm along with the neighbors who have a problem with the amount of trucks that may run in that area. And what we're asking is because of the disrepair from the owner of 5 Meadow Lane along Meadow Lane, each owner is responsible for their section of the road, sorry about that, that this shouldn't be used for any form of construction. Once repaired, okay, right along with the rest of it, it should be left out of the scheme of things and let them come up through their own property here. Okay, because if time's told us anything, they won't do anything with it. They won't take care of it or maintain it. In the meantime, perhaps it's going to be said, no, we have a plan for that. Well, that would be fine, except that's not been the experience. It's been a very poor experience. Now, to go along with that, I'm concerned about along the property line, if this is it, this setback over here and how this is going to work out. There's a natural swale through here and up along here into the back into a ditch that has been dug probably about 10 years ago. I want to make sure that that has been cleaned, maintained, and it has the kind of pitch it needs. It's already been told to me there wasn't enough to make this drain properly, and water ponds up in this area right here all the time. So if there is to be a retaining wall built here, that there should be plenty of setback for a swale and maintenance of any retaining wall that may be installed in this general area. Furthermore, I agree, the amount of dust. When this part of Prairie Park was being done, they were mining this area for a lot of gravel and then filled it in with garbage. And trust me when I say garbage, I saw it, I lived there. In the meantime, what my concern is, even right out here, they buried giant trees in that clay. And I don't believe that the soil tests are gonna hold up very well through this area. So I'd say there's a couple of concerns. I saw the garbage being buried. In the meantime, the dust that was raised here was absolutely obnoxious, and they did nothing to water it down. Even after many complaints, it seemed like the people at the time who were here did nothing about it and didn't care. So I think a lot of people, even these residents here, are gonna be you can't believe the amount of fine, silty dust, I don't care how good your windows are, is gonna get into your house, in your car, in your clothing, everywhere. And so I think that the amount of dust raised here is gotta be addressed. And that's why I think it's important, and especially for the neighbors right in this area down here and out here on Picardy. They're gonna be glad if this gets, maintained somehow, perhaps water trucks, whatever it takes. Because depending on the direction of the wind, and you can't tell me tomorrow which way the wind's coming for sure. We can't all look at our weather maps, but there's a lot of issues like this that need to be addressed. And I'm sure I'm gonna have more to say as I see things develop here. But for the time being, I think these are very important issues. And I hope all of you won't allow it to just go past and pretend like it's non-existent, because I live there and I've experienced it firsthand. Thank you.
What else?
Yeah.
Come on. Just gotta have you step up to the mic, so.
Lori Gumbiner, 100. Okay. My question is to help understand the Capital Development Group USA and their role in everything versus Smith Construction, and who's going to be in charge of this project.
All right, any other questions? Yep, there's one.
My name is Thomas Chong. I've been living in Prairie Park condominium for just 2 years. When I moved in, I really love their area, and I'm really proud of. I'm a resident of a building city. And I don't mean to bother the developers of real estate business. I don't mean to at all. But we have right to have good position to live in Prairie Park condominium as all other residents in Prairie Park condominium. So when I read the little small paper in our elevator room, it was okay. But when I came here, I take a look at that blueprint. Personally, it's really shock to me. And once they built it, if they built it, that's gonna really bother our cozy living our life. That will really bother us. And the clubhouse is not really big enough to handle all the people live right there. Another reason I disagree to change R1 to R4 is...
Sir, I'm sorry, this is the time for questions, if you have a question. Otherwise, we're going to do public comment later on in the hearing.
Maybe did I do too much on it right now?
Oh, no, you can give your whole comment later, but we're just trying to, there's a specific procedure. So if you have a question for the petitioner, that's right now. If not, we'll call people up for comment later.
Okay, I'll wait then.
Okay.
Thank you.
You'll be able to say later. I just want to make sure we're doing the right timing. Anyone have any more questions?
Okay.
Oh, one more.
Oh, yep, we have one more. Hello.
Good evening. My name's Dennis Solid. I live at 115 Prairie Park. My concern is regarding the density of the proposed development and the fact that they're proposing to do 8 units per building versus your requirements are 6 per building. In addition, they want to make the entrance 25 feet wide instead of 66 feet wide, which is what you recommend. And then in addition, that they wish to use a 15-foot setback versus a 30-foot setback. Also, after reading the documentation, I found nothing regarding any type of environmental impact as far as studying the effect on the surrounding area and the wildlife in the area.
Again, this is the time for questions. Do you have any questions?
I'm asking a question.
Oh, okay.
I'm asking, was a study done
Okay, sorry.
for environmental impact?
Okay.
Do you want me to repeat the other ones?
Nope. I got it. What's the study?
Okay. Also, what type of, and I noticed that you had in your questioning, which I didn't hear said this evening, what type of bonding is going to be required for the completion of the project? We saw what went on with the 18 units as far as the length of time involved. This is 48 units, and the proposal is that it's done in 20 months when the other project of 18 units wasn't done in 20 months. So I have a question regarding that. In addition, what will be done as far as these other people have mentioned? Thank you. Regarding the control of dust and dirt and the equipment being in the area, driving in and out of the area, and where's it going to be kept? What are they going to be doing regarding where the construction equipment is going to be? And also, he mentioned 20 months. Is it 20 months to complete the entire development, or is it 20 months just to complete the first half? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any more questions? All right, you guys want to?
So I think I got everyone's questions here, but if I miss any, feel free to let me know. So in the beginning, Laura, you had asked about the two areas at the north and the south sides. Those will be green spaces. They are detention areas, but they will be green spaces. Do you want me to have Cliff come up here to give a rundown about the engineering regarding comp storage and why we've dealt with flooding?
I think a summary would be helpful.
Cliff,
Did you
you
get a
want to give a
question?
little breakdown?
Yes, my name is Cliff Toberman, Norman J. Toberman Associates, and we've been working on the Prairie Park project from its beginnings back in 2000. So been the engineer on the entire project from the condominiums, townhouse, so forth. So the north and south basins are actually best management practice basins, native planted, that all run off from the north side of the development will go into those basins. All the south runoff from impervious areas, homes, roads, will go to the south basin. The design is to infiltrate 1 inch of water through the native planted soils into underlying gravel. With excess water would go through under drains, and for very, very large storms, you'd have some overflow immediately into the ponds. So the two ponds, the north pond and the south pond, north pond would take up the north grass green area. The south pond would pick up any high volume, large storm events would overflow into the south pond. All drainage is to the Wheeling Will Rogers diversion channel at the very far north side of the north pond, and it's restricted with an 8 1/4 inch restrictor that holds all the water back. In addition, those ponds are retention ponds with compensatory storage for Des Plaines River flooding. Okay, if it backs up, for very large flooding events on the Des Plaines River, greater than a 10-year rain, some backup, those ponds are designed for that. So what you'll always notice, residents at Prairie Park, which you're always going to notice, say, well, why aren't those ponds very filled? Because the Des Plaines, over many, many small events, the Des Plaines River is not flooded. So therefore, you will see very little bounce in those ponds because they're large. They're designed for, first and foremost, for Des Plaines River flood events to manage that water. The initial design of with the Village of Wheeling 20 years ago was to have 200-year designs. One first for the river, one for the Des Plaines River to flood, then a second 100-year rain hits Wheeling. Besides the river getting hit with a 100-year rain, the Des Plaines River, a second 100-year rain hits Wheeling. So therefore, all that storage in those ponds throughout the Prairie Park development, whether it's the main pond, whether it's the north pond, south pond today, whether it's basins throughout the Prairie Park development, will hold all those waters. Therefore, there's significant compensatory storage, detention storage, best management practice storage that will be occupying the development. That makes it very robust. But getting back to the original question about the BMP North Basin, South Basin, that's very frequent rains, everyone. And the beauty of it, that's being implemented in Cook County throughout, and DuPage County and Lake County throughout the Chicago area, those are frequent rains. That large runoff comes from those frequent events over the year. So what does it do? It infiltrates the water. And lo and behold, there's, in those ponds, the reason they're so beautiful out of Prairie Park, which is very unique, is that they're tied into groundwater. The development of those ponds many years ago was consciously made effort to go down deep enough, nice and deep, for quality of water, but it ties into the groundwater. So thus the beauty of those ponds, and we want to maintain that beauty, okay?
I believe your next question was regarding the walking path that will be maintained, and it is going to be elevated. Cliff, do you know how many feet?
Yeah, the walking path will be basically, well,
Correct.
Correct. And that will be above the 100.
No, I know, I'm saying, do you know how high we're elevating it off the top of your head? I can find out for you, Lori, but it is going to be, it's going up a few inches. But it will be maintained, it will stay, you will still have access, and it is going to be elevated a little bit.
I think they also said how close to the buildings does it come?
Oh, yes. Cliff, do you have your plan, from the building on the west side to the walking path? You know what that distance is? That would be the closest one. I can find out I'll find out the exact number, but he thinks approximately 20 feet from the building at the top left corner. That's the closest one to the walking path, but I'll get you an exact amount, but he thinks approximately 20 feet.
The corner of the building is 22.5 feet from the property line, and the path is about 7 feet wide, so it looks like it would probably be about 15 feet.
15, so, thank you, Kyle. I didn't know what you were referring to the north. What plants to the north about being removed? Are you talking about the Park District property on the other side of the diversion channel? No, west. Oh, to the west? That's like the trees?
Well, because it cuts into that tree line. They're going to go
No. No, none of them are being touched. Yep. Yeah, so none of that to the west is being touched. Steve, the storage area ceiling? Was it angled or flat? Was one of the
Is it
questions.
dormered?
It's pitched ceiling.
The storage ceiling is pitched. I believe Henry, was his name, asked about emergency access. There will be an emergency access, as the fire department has requested, connecting Meadow Lane into the Picardy neighborhood that will only be used for emergency vehicles, not for full access where you'd have people cutting from the Picardy neighborhood into Prairie Park or vice versa. So I don't think anyone would want that. It's at the lower left, right there. So Meadow Lane runs left to right. Right there is the emergency roadway connecting to Meadow.
And that's only going to be used if we cannot get access through the main entrance.
Well, we'll work with the fire department and village staff. It'll either probably be bollards or a chain of some sort, similar to the chains that are located within Prairie Park right now that block off people accessing the fire lanes behind the buildings. There will be no traffic. Residents from these townhomes will not be driving through your neighborhood, just as residents from your neighborhood will not be able to drive through the townhomes and cut through Prairie Park. Construction vehicles. Obviously, when we are doing the work on the roadway, you're probably going to have some construction vehicles going through that neighborhood when that road work is being done. We will work with the village and staff and go with whatever requirements that they have to do it, but I'm assuming there will be some while that roadway is being implemented. I'm going to kind of put together a couple of the comments all at once. A number of the comments we've heard are parking, density, and the clubhouse. I'd like to give a little history on what was planned with Prairie Park over 20 years ago. There was a fifth building that was supposed to be put up, 72 units. That density, with 312 units on 17 acres, was 18.35 units per acre. How Prairie Park sits today with the current villas project and the existing condos are 15.17 units per acre. The Highlands project, with 48 units on approximately 7 acres, are 6.86 units per acre. Significantly less than the existing Prairie Park development and significantly less than the originally approved project. The clubhouse was built in mind for an additional 72 units. With the addition of the villas and the Highlands, it's only 66 units. Parking. The existing parking within the Prairie Park condos today is 2.31 spaces per unit. If you exclude the units that people are not allowed to park overnight in, that number drops to 2.1 parking spaces per unit. The Highlands project here has 4.4 spaces per unit. Now, obviously, when the garages are being power washed and everyone's got to get out of the garages, you see there's no parking there. Beyond that, I've never once seen unavailable parking at Prairie Park, and I don't expect it to be a problem within the villas when we cater to the same demographic, I'm sorry, the Highlands, when we cater to the same demographic that we did with the condos and that we did with the villas. Steve, do you want to talk about the street width setbacks? Or should I grab Cliff? The width of the street and the setbacks. Cliff? Oh, but before he comes up here then, regarding the Village project, we did have an 8-month delay. I know one of the comments was made about that, and that was due to the fact that we had to wait 8 months for NICOR to move a gas line that was existing and in conflict with the entire north line.
So is 20 months still your plan?
That's our goal.
For the
yes.
whole, for the
That's
whole
our goal.
project?
Obviously,
Yeah.
things happen, but that's our
Right.
goal
Nope, that's fine.
regarding the street width.
Oh, yeah, the street width is 26 foot, back of curb to back of curb. The setbacks, boy, if I remember exactly, 20 plus.
Just under 23 is the gross.
Yeah, it's, okay. What-
It's 22.5.
22.5 on the west.
This is a PUD, just like when we went through this project with the, process with the condo development, there were a number of departures that had to be done, and that's exactly what a PUD is for. And it fits the parameters for the turning radius and safety, and the fire department is good with it. And we think it's a terrific site, and we worked hard with staff to accommodate that. I believe I hit everything unless there's.
I have a couple comments.
study.
One was, I don't know if there was a specific question or a clarification on the sidewalk access.
Yeah, I didn't hear a question for it, so I didn't know.
Yeah, it's
what-
like, would people be walking in the street if they don't go on those sidewalks? And I guess
I mean,
those are the sidewalks shown, right?
yeah, you'd assume some people may, I mean, we have sidewalks on both sides of Prairie Park right now, and people still walk in the street sometimes, so I can't,
There was some question about any construction plans for the dust during construction or anything like that. If
It's 2-story frame construction. We will have a sweeper on site so that we can help keep the roadways clean. We understand I empathize with everyone. I understand no one likes change, and construction brings some unwanted consequences. And ironically enough, I heard the same comments over 20 years ago regarding a lot of the comments you heard tonight are from people who live within the condos, and I think really appreciate the product that they got. And it's kind of, ironic that we heard the same comments over 20 years ago from the neighbors to the south, because change is hard. And I understand that, and I empathize with it. But I do believe that this is the best use for this site. And I think when it's done, people are really going to appreciate it, just as they do the villas now. But during construction, I understand it's tough. It's a challenge.
Is there, you talked about the parking amount you have. There was a question specifically regarding parking for visitors. Is there designated?
Yes, so there are 19 additional guest spaces. You have 2 spaces in your garage and 2 spaces in the driveways. And I went through those numbers before, and you have over 2 spaces more per door on the Highlands than you do within the existing condo complex right now.
So I just wanted to call out that additional.
Yeah.
There was a question.
Yeah, and I
specifically
kind of
for the
combined the
visitors.
density with the clubhouse with the parking, because I think that little history lesson kind of addresses the fact that now you're on 24 acres instead of 17, and you only have 66 units compared to that originally planned building was 72. And actually, the initial intent in the back here was to do 2 more large condo buildings, which would, increase that density exponentially. And I think this is actually a better fit for everyone.
And then there was that question about the natural swale into the ditch and the pitch. I don't know,
So
Cliff.
the area the gentleman was describing is all below floodplain.
Okay.
We obviously have worked with Kyle extensively, and we'll follow all engineering that we have to accommodate, but
Is that existing, Kyle, right now?
You're talking about the swale?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd have to reevaluate, we'll have to look at the grading plan to see. I don't think the grading plan went off of their property onto Gary's adjacent property there, but we'll reevaluate it and double check and make sure that there's no issues with drainage there after the project is complete.
And then there was that question about a study for environmental impact.
Cliff?
We're in for the permit on the environmental. Yes, that is correct with the.
Okay, you.
Can you-
Cliff?
So, we're in with the Soil and Conservation District of North Cook County. That's in for environmental review, both for soils and erosion protection. They look over stormwater as well, and that's what's happening right
So
now.
it's pending with the appropriate agencies.
Yes.
Yes.
And we also have done a geotech study, and we're not concerned about soil conditions.
Okay.
Type of bonding.
The type of bonding required for the completion project, I'm assuming it's just the village.
Everything
the
that's
village code
required,
requirements?
everything that's required by the village.
Yeah. Which is usually a landscape bond and then
There's a bond for all the civil-related work.
Everything's
yes.
civil, all infrastructure.
infrastructure. So those are the two bonding requirements by the village.
And then if there's any work that has to occur on a village road, then there's a restoration bond as well that's separate to that.
Those are, I think, everything I had
One last about
Was there one?
capital development versus.
Oh,
It's
capital
a
development.
LLC partnership we created for doing the villas and the Highlands project.
Okay.
Can you come up and,
We don't plan on having any construction parking there. As I said, during the road work, when they're improving Meadow Lane, maybe there will be a little, we'll work with the village and staff. We can talk about it, but during the construction of the buildings, for example, no, you won't have carpenters parking up and down your street.
Will not be parking in our subdivision, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
okay.
All right, so we're gonna open up to evidence now.
Right.
All right, so have a seat. And then you guys will get a chance to respond after you hear all the comments on this. So the next part, again, is evidence, so people will be able to introduce any evidence that they have. And then after that, we will do just general comments, thoughts, thoughts, opinions. So is there anyone who has specific evidence that they want to introduce?
Or any documents they want.
Or any
the Plan
documents you
Commission-
want the plan commission to consider?
And we're going off of this list?
No, I think that that's gonna be set, we'll go off that list for general comments. You have some, okay.
I have a UBS, do I can put things on the board? Up there as well as pass out some things?
Staff did receive a presentation from an individual, but I'm not sure if that was yours or not. It was only like 5 slides. Is that yours?
Okay.
I don't think so.
Well, I'll pass this out.
Okay.
You don't have to read it now, but it'll be something to reference.
I can pass it down if you want. Yep.
So, my name and start the process here?
Yep.
Yes.
My name is Tim Carew. I'm a resident of Prairie Park, 40 Prairie Park Drive. I'm very pleased to be here. This is the first time I've been at this type of meeting. It's really a sign of really nice democracy in terms of that we have the opportunity to talk with you, regarding the zoning. It's very interesting in looking at the zoning requirements at Prairie Park. They list a number of requirements. There's 14 different purposes or objectives for zoning. You're probably very familiar with them. What they talk about, one is the safety. When you look at zoning and how you're going to zone something, safety becomes a major issue. It's the first thing on your list of objectives when you set zoning. Another one is the value of the property. Very important in your zoning. Another one is basically the tranquility of the area. All those things are going to be affected if the zoning changes from R1 to R4. And we'd like to talk to you about how that's going to be. The safety issue is really dependent upon the traffic. And when we talk about traffic, we have to look at the demographics of what's happening there. In our current environment that we have at Prairie Park. We have 238 units. We have approximately maybe, I have it in here. Let me just take a look to make sure I have my numbers correct. We have approximately 357 cars. Those cars make a number of trips per day. It's unfortunate we don't have the slide up, but our driving mileage that we have, and it's in this paper here, we calculate it to be about 22,000 miles a year. In other words, all the residents in Prairie Park utilize Prairie Park Drive for about a total of 22,000 miles a year. That number isn't particularly important. It's just as a baseline, or it gives you some frame of reference to what the traffic is today. The reason it's so important to talk about the traffic is Prairie Park is a park. I want to emphasize that word, park. The residents of Prairie Park walk around that environment that continuously because it's beautiful. There's a lot, and you're going to see more on the safety issue in terms of where they walk and how increased traffic affects safety. The new development, they say the demographics is going to be the same. No one knows what the demographics are going to be. It's impossible to tell who's going to live there. Who's going to live there? Whoever comes up with the money to buy the place, that's who's going to live there. But who will be looking at those places? If you compare it to Prairie Park residents, we have basically two-bedroom units. This is a three-bedroom unit. What does that say? That says probably a larger population. We have basically one or two parking places. Those are a garage, two parking, everyone has two parking. We'll have more cars. We have 48 units. If we have 2 cars per unit, that's 100 cars. 100 cars, if they drive 2.5 times a day, if they make a trip out, both cars make one trip out a day, that's 4 times. That's going up and down the drive. If they make another trip to the grocery store, taking the kids to the school or whatever, that's another trip. So we end up with about 35,000 miles going down Prairie Park Drive. You have to picture this now. We're in a park. We're not on Bacardi Lane where there's 28 houses and where there's a 28-inch wide residential road and there's a 12-foot terrace between the sidewalk and the road. We're in Prairie Park where the sidewalk and the road are almost one and the same. And the road is only 24 inches wide. So now we have a traffic situation where we start with perhaps somewhere in the neighborhood of 22,000 miles per year on our roads, and we put now another 35,000 miles worth of traffic on that road. That's a 150% increase. We have there's more people walking around Prairie Park Drive than any other area in Wheeling in terms of a residential area. There's nothing, it doesn't compare to anything. That's why the gentleman earlier said he loved it. Everyone that lives at Prairie Park loves it because it's a great place in terms of the environment to walk around with, to look at. If we have that kind of traffic, the people will be out there walking around and butting up against cars, trucks. It's a dangerous situation. You're talking about value when you look at the zoning ordinances. The value, I talked to some realtors. If you take a Prairie Park, let's say the Prairie Park residence is $400,000. It's going to appreciate over time. I asked a realtor, what do you think it's going to appreciate? He said, they don't know. But in the last 3 years, things have appreciated around 19% total in the last 3 years. I said, well, what if it only appreciates 2% per year? He did his calculator. He says, well, in 10 years, $40,000 would be worth $87,000, $487,000, an $87,000 increase. I said, well, what happens if you have more traffic? Because his point was, never is a residential area become more valuable when you add additional traffic, when you double or triple the traffic in an area. it is a detriment to the residential value. We all know that. How can we put a number on it? We can't put an exact number on it, but let's just say, for example, rather than the conservative 2% increase in value, it's only 1.75. That's a 0.25% less in value appreciation. What does that mean? That means over 10 years, there's a $12,000 loss in each homeowner's value if it starts at $40,000. You take $12,000 times 238 units that we have, that's $2.8 million. It cost Prairie Park residents to drive up and down that, they have residents from the west property drive up and down that road. It's not fair. We cannot afford that. You take construction traffic going up and down that road. I've talked to some engineers. Their roads are not designed for heavy equipment. Wheeling is very much aware of that. You have restriction signs on all your roads. 8 tons, don't come on this road. Even on Wolf Road, big sign, no trucks. Why? You want to protect your people from the traffic, and you want to protect your roads from the need to repair them. Prairie Park residents want the same thing. We cannot allow that type of thing to happen. So we're losing, and of course, if we have to repair our roads, our little streets, they cost over $500,000 to put those back together again. That would be assessed to us. So we urge you not to vote for R4. It just won't work. They have to come up with a different access to that property. Even if they had access through Prairie Park Road, what type of property would that be where a resident has to drive from Wolf Road through Prairie Park, maybe at 10 miles an hour, maybe over speed bumps, maybe over a one-way street that we would make? What that resident would say, I'm not sure I want to live on the west property here, in the Highlands, because it takes, half hour to get back and forth. And they won't take a half hour. They'll go 30 miles an hour, and we'll be out there walking on the streets. It's a huge safety issue, and it's a huge financial issue. And we urge you not to do that. If we get into more detail in terms of some of the legality of it, there is an easement agreement. We understand there is an easement agreement. And that easement agreement gives the developer the right to go up and down that road. But we also have an agreement with the developer, or with the developer assigned, that whatever the rules of the road are that the Homeowners Association for Prairie Park established, they will apply to Prairie Park residents as well as to the Highland residents. If that's the case, the new rules for Prairie Park could potentially be no trucks allowed. So if we pass that rule, it'd be very difficult to build that site, even if it's a F4 property, because that's the agreement. They have to follow the same rules that we have. Now you'd say, well, maybe that's, I talked to, I'm not a lawyer, but I've talked to an attorney about that, and his point was, you could have an issue there. They've got an easement, you've got the right to set the rules of the road. There's a little bit of maybe conflict there. But he said if they change the rules, the zoning to R4 from R1, then the agreement that you have isn't void, because the agreement was made under R1 situation. You had an R1 agreement and all of a sudden becomes R4. That's a whole new world. You have to sit down and renegotiate and have a different agreement with them. So, there's a lot of different things here that you have to consider, and none of them are very favorable toward R4. The best world is R1, which it is, and which we all understand it to be, and we would like it to stay that way. Thank you.
So a couple of things I want to address. First, I want to touch on the value of the property and the values that have happened at Prairie Park since the villas have gone up. My wife probably represents 70% of the resales within Prairie Park just because we live there and we know everyone. A condo she recently got under contract in one of the original buildings that hasn't been touched since that buyer closed in 2007. Recently went under contract, close to ask, and they were asking $465. The exact same unit, updated, in the exact same building, but a far nicer unit, just 2.5 years ago, sold for $360. So while I can't prove it directly, I would say that when we have townhomes selling, 3 of them for over $700,000, and a lot of them selling in the mid-6s, I'm a firm believer that a rising tide lifts all ships. And I think that the value that the villas have brought to the Prairie Park has actually improved the prices for the condo owners as well. It's number one. Number two, one thing that hasn't been addressed, because I know people are concerned about the cost, there's a cross easement and use agreement that has already been signed by the HOA board, not only granting access to the site, which we have by an easement by prescription and from the original plat that the village required when Prairie Park was first developed, but these residents are paying in to the condo association to help maintain the costs of the grounds. In other words, the villas pay, it's approximately $120 per month per unit that go directly to the Prairie Park condo HOA. The additional cost of landscaping, snow removal, and a little bit of electric for the irrigation and the lighting in the villas is significantly less than that approximately $27,000. I don't have the number in front of me, but I believe the quote was somewhere between 12 and 15 for the landscaping and the snow removal, and the electric is minimal. So you're looking at over $10,000 additional monies going to the condo HOA that they can utilize however they want, or they can utilize to maintain their roads, to help with the waterfall, to help with the clubhouse repair. You're talking about 18 units that aren't tangible in terms of the road use. And while I don't have a crystal ball about the demographics. I've sold the vast majority of the condos that were new. I sold every villa that was new. And I already have a number of reservations for this project for people that want to buy there once we get hopefully our final approvals with the Plan Commission and the board. And they're the same type of people that live in the condos. And you can see that with the villas. Your HUD would restrict me from telling who can and can't live there, and I don't have a crystal ball. But I can tell you with first floor masters, I have a pretty good understanding of who my buyer is going to be. That's all I wanted to address. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who had evidence that they wanted to introduce before we move on to general public comment? Ma'am? Is it a general comment or is it evidence? Okay, no, that's fine. All right, so with that, what we'll do is we're gonna go down the list of people who signed up. You get 5 minutes. We ask that you don't repeat comments that have already been given by other people. You can come up and say, I agree with that, or I want to reemphasize that, but it is 8:30 already at night, so we're trying to get through this, so just be aware of that. As I said, 5 minutes, we'll go down the order. If there's people who didn't sign up and they want to give comment, you'll go at the end. And then at the end, the petitioner will have a final chance to make any statements based on the comments you'd hear. I would just ask you guys just do it all at the end so it doesn't build off. And then once that's all done, then it'll be the commission's time to ask questions and then the public participation will be closed at that point. So go ahead, Chairman Johnson.
Steve Harker.
And I'll try to give you an indication if for some reason you're getting close to 5 minutes. I'll be keeping the timer.
Sure. So my name is Steve Harker. I'm here with my wife, Judy. 17 years ago, we moved into 40 Prairie Park as original owners. But before we moved in, we did our due diligence beforehand, not afterwards and questioning things. And so we asked builder Mark Smith 3 questions. 1, are our streets built to handle the construction vehicles for the next 2 phases of construction? 2, will the sales trailer be removed after phase 3? And phase 3 to me is this.
3, will the landscaping and water features still look as good as they do now in 20 years? Mark's answer to all 3 were a resounding yes. 17 years later, I'm here to say the construction of Phase 2, when it was right next to our building, I'm in 40 Prairie Park, went without any inconvenience to us. The streets were designed, and I find this out because I did my homework, the streets were designed with extra gravel and an 8-inch binder, so simple resurfacing brought them back to their original state. Secondly, the sales trailer wasn't removed after Phase 3. They removed it after Phase 2, earlier than they said, and they replaced it with beautiful grass and stone. And only one needs to look at the landscaping and water features almost 20 years later to realize we live in the most beautiful place that exists in Wheeling. In conclusion, I will just say this. Mark Smith, he's a man of his word. Thank you.
Greg Wilson.
Thank you. My name is Greg Wilson. I'm a resident of 115 Prairie Park. I've been there since 2007. Fairly long-term resident, not very well known probably in the community. But during the time that I've lived there, I've been through the construction of swales behind the buildings, the completion of the last building in the Prairie Park condominiums, the development of the most recent units. And throughout all that construction, and admittedly, anytime you have construction, you get a few little things that make you squirm. But that's kind of the price you pay to move forward. And I have been completely impressed with the way Mark and his people have handled all of this construction, the dedication that he puts into that property to make it initially and to continue to be a premier residential community within Wheeling, one that we can all be proud of. And there's not a guest that I have come to the property that doesn't comment about the quality of what life looks like there. And so I believe that this project will only continue to enhance the value and the beauty of this just gem of a property that we live in. Thank you.
Next up, Sherwin. Okay. Sorry, is it? I'll let you say the last name.
My name is Sherwin Began. I live in Prairie Park. All the questions that have been asked and the remarks are valid only if you approve the project. I'm here to ask you to squash it like a cicada. I brought some evidence. This is some happy people. It's on the brochure of Prairie Park that they gave me 12 years ago. This is Prairie Park. You don't have to squint, I'll tell you what's on it. 5 condominium buildings, a lake in the center, and to the west, bunch of trees, bunch of grass, and water. That's all. Now, it's still not complete. The Smith family pre-sold half of the 5th building and then backed out of the construction when the building would not offer them a profit. So at that time, they decided to put up 18 orange trees in an apple orchard. It's totally inconsistent with the other buildings that are in Prairie Park. But they filled up the space that was intended for the 5th building. It's filled. It's over. No, it's not over. They're back at the trough. They come to ask for a zoning change without any consideration to all the valued residents of our community who have lived there for 10, 15, 5, 2 years. They love it. But Jamie spoke about consideration for the new owners with respect to how they're going to build. I'm asking for consideration to the existing owners, the ones that have been paying real estate tax to Wheeling for the last 15, 17 years. And none of them, except 2 people who came here, are in favor of this project. Now, Jamie talked about the new townhomes creating $10,000 to the HOA, the Prairie Park HOA. $10,000 is bupkis. It's not worth a damn. What will you do with it? Put some seed in the ground? And I'm asking, well, let me say this. Jamie talks about units. Units, units, units. I don't talk about units because they are not real. The thing to talk about is bedrooms. We have places that are 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom, some 3s, and those are units, but they're bedrooms. When you talk about all the new buildings that he's done and the ones that he's planning to do, they all, every one of them have 3 bedrooms. And the likelihood is that they'll be all occupied. So it's not the same. Units do not compare with bedrooms. Now, I've been to a Wheeling board meeting, and I personally have referred to Prairie Park as the jewel of Wheeling. And I'm asking the board, this committee, not to change that jewel into a hunk of glass. Thank you.
All right, next on the list is Tim Carew. Did you have more?
Just a couple of comments. One is I agree with everyone that was up here that said they love Prairie Park. I've talked to many residents, and the first thing you find out from a resident is how long he's been there, what unit he lives in, and then the third thing he says, I love living here. And I think that speaks well for Prairie Park. The reason we love living there is because we live in a park. How many people get to live in a park? That's where we live, so obviously we love it. And we want to keep it that way. They talk about, Jamie said the value is going to go up for Prairie Park. It is not going to go up. Can you imagine wherever you live that in your street, traffic begins to increase by 150%? It doesn't work. You cannot have high volume traffic, construction traffic, and high property values. They are not, so that's a fact, I think. I think I can, sometimes we state on what we wish, but that's a fact. The value will not go up. Second thing, of course, that was just mentioned is the homeowners association. We don't understand any agreement that we have with the Highlands in terms of how much money they're going to pay in. We have enough money to run our property without any additional, so we don't need that. And then the demographics, he mentioned, it's going to be the same. When you have 3 bedrooms versus 2 bedrooms, it's not going to be the same. The chances of it being the same, I don't know, who knows? But the chances of it being the same are quite, and when it's a younger generation, they're going to have to drive more. They've got kids, they've got jobs, they've got things they've got to do, they've got to drive. They're going to go up and down that Prairie Park Drive. The last thing I want to ask you is to think about Heritage Park. Pretend that a contractor came in here, a developer came in here and said, you know, I've got a great idea. I'm going to build this beautiful hotel. You've got a lot of activity in Heritage Park. You've got baseball players, you've got soccer, you've got all people coming in from all over. They need a hotel to stay in. It'd be a great revenue source for you. I'm going to put that park, that hotel just north of Prairie Park, north of Heritage Park, I'm sorry. And the access road is going to come right through Heritage Park. You see, sorry, your hotel idea was great, but you've got to find much better access. We have a park. It's not a public park, it's a private park. Public is certainly welcome to come in and walk around and look at it, and they do. You should see the entrance that we have. I'm sure you've seen it. The number of pictures, wedding pictures, prom pictures that are taken there, the people that come to that place. It's beautiful. It's a private park that we're willing to share with pedestrians walking through, but we're not willing to share it with traffic. So please, R1 has to be. Thank you.
Next on the list is Nick Chaconis.
How you doing? Nick Chaconis back again. 540 Meyerson, so in Picardy. What I propose to you guys, when's the last time Wheeling built single-family homes? Every time we look, it's a multiple unit. You got, my son went to London Middle School. They're putting more multiple unit. I live in a single-family home. I moved to Wheeling for a single-family home, and then now there's like another explosion. Why do we need more townhouses and more condos? And this guy just did more residences over on Dundee. Why can't we have the R1 and just keep that and build a nice? Who's gonna buy a $700,000 townhome in Wheeling? I don't know. I make a pretty good living, and I probably would not buy a $700,000 townhome in Wheeling. I don't understand that. That just was added when Jamie said the price. I'm like, really? My house is probably $500,000. I don't know, but it doesn't make any sense. And we still never answered the dust question, the construction dust, the digging of all that trash that was thrown in there. I've been there for 15 years. I've seen a lot of projects over there and a lot of things that went on, and nothing was ever addressed. He kind of like brushed through the construction stuff. And you know that they're going to use there's going to be trucks all mixed up, and they're going to park in front of my house. I'm the closest house in Bacardi Place to where that's going on. I'm right on the corner of Meadow and Meyerson Way. So we had some incidents in the past, but that's water under the bridge. But one, why are we going with multiple dwellings when Wheeling is suffering from single-family homes? And two, we never answered any of the dust questions and the construction questions. Thank you.
Diane. Okay, I'll go with that.
I also am at Prairie Park 100, Diane Gilmore. And I have to agree, I love it. When I moved in 3 years ago, I literally was telling everyone, I literally moved into a resort. I'm living in a resort. I love it. I mean, the swans, the lake, it's just, at night when there's no parking allowed in certain places, you look out and with the lights on and the fountains, it's a resort. You're on vacation. I'm still on vacation. Anyway, I want to talk about the dangers and safety concerns related to construction truck traffic. Negotiating the sharp turns and narrow corners while facing large trucks on Prairie Park Drive would be a challenge for all. However, the issue of safety is especially relevant when the demographic of Prairie Park residents is concerned, which is mostly seniors. It is important to note that there is no parkway between the narrow, only 24 feet wide, Prairie Park Drive and the sidewalk. The possibility of a serious accident is compounded when you consider the large Asian population living at Prairie Park. Their culture is such that out of politeness, they will step into the street to avoid oncoming walkers. Happens all the time. And the other side of the sidewalk is steeply graded toward beautiful Lake Elizabeth. There are always people walking around the lake, pushing strollers or wheelchairs or walking their dogs, constantly. We also have our swans, ducks, and geese in the lake who frequently cross or walk in the road to get from one pond to another, or sometimes just to sit in the puddles in the middle of the street. The density of the population with direct access to our sidewalks is approximately 300% greater than the density of the population on neighboring Picardy Street. It's ironic that zoning that would make high-volume truck traffic is being considered when you look at the efforts made by Wheeling to protect its citizens. Residential areas throughout the village have signs banning trucks over 8 tons, while Prairie Park currently has no such protections. Construction truck traffic would also have a negative impact on the value of residential property, collectively costing homeowners millions of dollars. There's no such thing as high residential property value and ongoing truck traffic, as was mentioned. The damage caused by truck traffic to the privately owned streets has already resulted and will result in a huge expense for Prairie Park homeowners. And I just wanted to add about the dust too. I've been there 3 years and I'm still opening cupboards, closed cupboards, cabinets, and closets that there's dust inside of it. It's definitely a problem. And thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you.
Is there one more? Or is there?
The last one we have on the list is Kim Peterson.
Just a moment. I'll set my timer. Agreeing with Tim that the amount of traffic is a huge concern for many who live around 5 and 200 Meadow Lane. I believe the PUD in this project is asking to make the property more dense than if they were complying with what the zoning codes are. Adding 2 more units to each building, decreasing space, either the space between buildings, the setbacks, whether the north setback or the west setback, and the widths of the roads. Decreasing this much space and increasing the number of units, to me, does not sound like ultra high-end, as I've heard it called. Rather, it sounds like trying to pack as many units as you can into a space. Packing the units into the development is one large factor that increases the amount of traffic Prairie Park will experience. Another one is opening the demographic to those with more mobile lifestyles. How does this proposed development attract those with greater mobility? Well, in Prairie Park, the condos are built to accommodate those who are older and often less mobile. Let's contrast the condos with the townhomes. The condos have elevators and the townhomes have stairs. The condos, in the condos, 100% of the living space is on one floor. And in the townhomes, though the owner's bedroom is on the main floor, conservatively, I would say over 40% of one's overall living space is on the second floor. Most condos have 2 bedrooms, most townhomes 3. Condos have walk-in, high-ceiling storage cages in our garage, and townhomes have the storage with slanted ceilings. I've heard them referred to as crawl spaces, but I'm not sure who told me that, so take that for what it's worth. Greater mobility is needed for the stairs to access the second floor, using a crawl space or a space with a slanted ceiling versus a walk-in high ceiling storage, and also need more mobility. 3-bedroom units are more conducive for parents and children, whether the children are adult or younger. If the population has a more mobile lifestyle, they will be making more trips outside of Prairie Park, taking a car to work or school or whatever events they have outside the home. It's not that I don't want those people in our complex. It's the number of units that are attracting them and the resulting increased traffic that causes concern. The last factor influencing the amount of traffic is that the units are in the back of the complex. I think having the fifth building of condos would create a lot less traffic, even though there's more units. But being in the back of the complex, you're using the entire length, as Tim mentioned, for a trip. You're going both in and out the entire length of Prairie Park Drive. Quite a few people have mentioned the safety aspect, so I will skip over that. Finally, I invite you to join me in experiencing the character and quality of Prairie Park. It's Tuesday evening. Sorry, I don't know why I'm getting verklempt. I think I do love where I live. And I do want to thank Mark Smith for making Prairie Park. As many have said, we love it. And I wasn't expecting this. It's Tuesday evening in August, 8 p.m. We are walking around the lake in the center of Prairie Park. In the 5 minutes it takes to stroll around it, we see 13 people, and 3 of them are walking dogs. At the lake, we see some of Prairie Park's beautiful water features, the fountains. Then we move to the front waterfall that attracts wedding parties, prom dates, quinceañera parties, families, and individuals from all over the northwest suburbs. At Prairie Park, we want to maintain and enjoy the fountains and the waterfall, the fish and the fowl, the flowers and the foliage. We want to continue to be a place where people can rest or move around, observe nature, and appreciate the beauty and tranquility. We want to preserve this character of our complex. Substantially increasing road traffic can drastically alter the experience of walking around Prairie Park. Instead of the haven it is, it would become a thoroughfare with greater risk of injury or serious problems between pedestrians, wildlife, and vehicles. In conclusion, considering the effect of increased traffic, the elite nature of the proposed development, its population and location, safety issues, as well as the current character of Prairie Park, I would ask to decline to change the property from R1 to R4. Thank you for your time, your attention, and your consideration of this matter.
Okay. Want to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to break for 5 minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're going to take 5,
Take a 5-minute
and
break.
we'll be back shortly.
I think that's
Thank you for giving us a relief break there.
We should like pop in and pop out? Oh.
Before we go back to the petitioner, we're gonna just see if there's anyone who still has public comment that didn't have a chance to sign up. Come on down.
Hello.
State your name and address, please.
Daniel Marin at 45 Prairie Park Drive. And I wanted to address something that really hasn't been brought up, and that's the comment that these townhouses will be the same demographic as what we have now, and it really isn't true. Right now, we have 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments in our condominium units, and they are in the range of 300 to 500,000, predominantly older people or people without children, very few children in all 4 of the buildings. The townhouses that were built, and they were about $700,000, those 18 townhouses, and I guess they had 3 bedrooms for the most part. Not too many children. Actually, I haven't seen a single one. But now, you start talking about these townhouses, and you're talking about no adult-only restriction. We're talking about $500,000. I believe I saw the figure of $540,000 on one of the sales brochures, and 3 and 4 bedrooms. So what you're going to have is an awful lot of children, and I look at these piddly front yards. It looks like there's not even any grass at all. So where are they supposed to play? Are they supposed to play in the streets? Are they supposed to go to the garden areas at the end of in the north and the south side, which also is for drainage? Or are they going to go over to the clubhouse and hang out? I mean, I think that's probably where they would end up going. And just because the first few people that signed up don't have children doesn't mean that they're not going to be coming. And that's definitely, it's a problem. It's going to be a lot denser of amount of people that are moving into these townhouses than what we have in the majority in our 238 units in the 4 buildings. So I have 2 suggestions. One is forget about the variance, increasing the amount of townhouses from 36 to 48. 36 is good. Forget about reducing the distance between the buildings from 50 feet to 25 feet. When I had a single-family house, we had 17 feet between the buildings, and that was awful close. Now you're talking about 25 feet. Again, for the, just looking at the picture, it just all looks like it's just too cluttered. It's too jammed up. It's just too many people in too small an area. And going back to the R1, if I got understood correct, if I caught it right, 7 acres are here. Well, if they made if the Smith family made the single-family homes, which were originally promised, if you can have 1/3 of an acre, that would be 21 units, or even in bigger yards, a half acre would be, you can have 14 units. So that would cut down the density considerably. And of course, they would be 3 and 4 bedroom homes, and there would be children, and that's fine. But they'd have a yard to play in. You could put a fence up, and they could have their dogs running around, and just like any normal single-family home neighborhood would be. So my recommendation or my suggestion to you, if you have to go with the townhouses, please, no variance, 36 units, 50 feet between each building. But what I would prefer is to go back to the R1s and build 14, 21 units. Nice houses, you could charge $800,000 for them. And eventually, they would fill up, but it would be a better living experience for the people that would move into those homes than the people that would regret buying these things. They're going to be right on top of each other. They're going to hear the business of everybody else. Again, jamming the units 25 feet apart just isn't going to work. So again, my point is that the demographics are not the same. They're not the same at all. And there's going to be a lot more children, and there's been nothing. I don't see any set of parts for possibly putting up some basketball courts for them that could be fenced in that they could play, or anything else. There's no playgrounds. They're going to be playing well, they really can't play in the pond, so they're going to end up being in our clubhouse. And not that I'm particularly against children, but I mean, this is something that nobody's brought up. To me, it's like obvious. It really is. That's something to consider. Again, my preference would be that you just keep it at R1 and get some nice single-family homes in there. And if you have to go with these townhouses, 36, and that's it. That's my points. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Somebody else wanted to come back up?
My name is Steve Freed, and I live at 45 Prairie Park Drive. And my question is a little bit different, or my observation is a little bit different. It boils down to quality of life issues. When I moved in, I came to the property 3 or 4 times, and it was quiet. It was beautiful. I decided to purchase, and it's been great, just like everybody else has said. But when you have 48 units with 3 and 4 bedrooms, who's going to be living in all those bedrooms? 150 to 100 kids. Okay, so you got basically the people that live there now are older people. They like the quiet. You're going to have 150 kids on bicycles, skateboards. And where are they going to go with the skateboard? Well, it's elevated, so the best spot for a skateboard is on a hill. And you're going to have people on that hill coming into the Prairie Park development on their skateboards, on their bicycles. And my concern is basically it's going to change the quality of life because most of the people that live there are older people. And it's going to change completely how we're going to live in that environment. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Was there anyone else? All right, Mr. Smith, would you like to continue on?
So not to be redundant, but I just feel it should be addressing on, because I think it was a portion of the vast majority of comments. The original Prairie Park plan called for 312 condos. With the villas and the Highlands project, you're at 306 total units between the townhomes and the condos. The density actually went down, not just from the lack of the 4 units, but now it's spread over 24 acres compared to 17. The density at the existing Prairie Park is 15.17 units per acre. The density for the 48 townhomes on the Highlands are 6.86 units per acre, well over half less. All of these units were designed as first floor masters for a reason. We're targeting a certain demographic. All you have to do is look at the 18 homeowners and who lives there as a small case study for the Villas project. And they are right in line with the owners within the condos. Lastly, I live at Prairie Park. My kids live at Prairie Park. I'm impacted just as much as every other resident there, and I empathize and I understand change is hard. And I was here over 20 years ago when residents from a different neighborhood absolutely did not want the place that you love. They didn't want it because they didn't want change, they didn't want construction, and I understand it, I get it. But without change, you never get progress. And I firmly believe that this is the best use of that site, a vastly reduced density from the original plan to do more condo buildings back there. And I think it's going to be very successful, and I hope that you approve the project tonight, so thank you.
So now we're going to turn over to the commission to ask any of their questions. I did want to make a general statement because we heard some statements tonight from residents about concerns about construction issues, dust, traffic, et cetera, during the construction of this project. While those are obviously valid concerns to raise with the developer and everything, they are outside the purview of the Plan Commission. We're looking at this project as a whole, the approval of the PUD. The Plan Commission doesn't deal with and doesn't have the authority to kind of address or deal with any of those, issues that would rise up during construction. Obviously, if there were issues that related to code enforcement or anything, that would be handled by other village staff at that time in the moment. But I did want to, I know you heard a lot about it today, so I did want to remind you that it's not really related to the petitions or projects that are like within your scope of what you're considering today. So with that, I'll turn it over to the commission.
All right. Now, remember, we're talking about both of the public hearings. So if you got any comments or questions on either one, bring them up now. We'll start down here with Commissioner Riles.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Jamie, thank you. And thank all of you for coming out and addressing this issue. I'm just kind of curious, and I agree with you, change is tough for everyone. And, over 20 years, there's a lot that have changed. For instance, electric cars, right? But I'm just curious, you said, you're still facing questions from 20 years ago about, the projects and everything that it's gone on. They talked about dust and, alleviating that, and you said it's the same question that you got 20 years ago. My first question, I guess, is, has there been a form of communication with the people, the residents, prior to this, that you could meet their needs or listen to their concerns or their demands or whatever? Because again, change is very difficult, but change is necessary. Did you have an opportunity to address?
Every unit owner, whether they're in the condo or the new townhomes that are now done, that I've ever spoken to, when they've asked about the 7 acres, they have always been told by everyone affiliated with us that eventually something will be built there. Now, many, many years ago, we had planned on more condo buildings. They're just economically, they don't work. The business model does not work, which is why they can't be built. But everyone has always been told and knows, which is why there is an existing easement that the village requested be a part of the original plat for the condo project, that access be granted to the western property. There is also an existing cross easement and use agreement for both the villa site and this Highlands site with the existing condo association since December 21. So everyone has been aware that eventually something would go there. And like I said, I understand change is hard, but I do believe that this project is much better than the original 144 condos and 2 additional 7-story buildings that was the original intent approximately 21 years ago.
But sure, you do understand that there's concern. I mean, there are people
Absolutely.
here, and maybe some of them feel as if they didn't comprehend that, understand that, or even know that. I would think it would be your responsibility to communicate with these people because, there have been a lot of figures being thrown around as far as property value, how much people are paying, the whole gamut. So for me, I would think that you would reach out to the residents. They knew something was going up, right? Is based on what you just said.
The plans were posted in every single building.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think it's Thomas Chong. He mentioned that there was a note or something in the laundry room.
This was just recent that a note was put up, but this has also been discussed at board meetings for the last 2 years as well. This wasn't sprung.
Okay.
This wasn't sprung on people. And
Okay.
I like I said, I understand people don't, to be frank with you, I think there's a number of people here tonight that don't want to see anything ever be built there. And I understand it.
Okay.
That doesn't mean I agree with it, but I understand it. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. It's a great process that we have that people can come up here and voice their opinions. All I can say is I like to speak in fact. And so when we talk about, as a lot of the concerns tonight have been demographic, parking, children, I would simply point to the 18 villas that were just completed, that are all 3 bedrooms, that are
Right.
actually larger units than these.
But excuse me, But the one issue that I've heard several times was related to the dust. And again, you said 20
You're gonna
years.
get-
You
you're gonna
said 20 years ago. It's the same question. We evolved. We changed. Did you guys make an adjustment based on the 20 years of experience of reassuring the residents that that would not be a major issue or a factor?
So the 20 years ago change that I was talking about was the fact that people just simply did not want Prairie Park built.
I understand
It
that,
wasn't the dust, but what I
stick
will
with the
say is
question
this.
here. The dust is the factor.
So we're
Did
gonna-
you address or look into making adjustments or changes to accommodate the residents based on 20 years ago, dust was a factor then? I would imagine, and you guys have done a fantastic job, but I would imagine with your research, your resources, your homework, that you would find a way to accommodate the residents who are currently living there who are complaining or not happy with the amount of dust during the construction.
So two things. It's construction. You are going to get dust. We will have a sweeper there to make sure that the roads are cleaned. If, dirt gets on there, we will have some water trucks. But I will say this. I live in 100 Prairie Park, Unit 610. I face the Villas project, where the 18 units went up. And while I can appreciate some of the statements made tonight, I had no dust in my unit from that project.
Okay.
Zero.
And I appreciate that. And I'm not going to get into back and forth, but with you saying that you live there, it's kind of a biased statement, correct? I mean, you're not neutral.
No, I'm obviously
You're not
biased.
neutral, so
And I would say that
these
like I said,
individuals
the change
who's-
that I'm talking about is change. The fact that you have nothing there now and that you're going to be getting something there. We'll do everything in our power to control dust. It is construction. You are going to get dust. I will say it's significantly less than if we were doing the condo buildings because it's a different type of construction. It's lower density.
it's just something that has been brought up, and I know that these individuals, and I've witnessed some head shaking when it was brought up, and I would imagine, at the end of the day, you want to accommodate the
And
residents
we
who are
will do
currently there.
everything within our power to control the dust as best as possible. It is construction, though.
No, I get that.
You are going to get some dust.
I get that, but I can clearly say that over 20 years, there have been some adjustments regarding construction and dust,
Absolutely.
right? So that's what I'm asking. From 2000 to 2024, have you and your team done any research, any homework to find a solution to accommodate the residents who are currently residing in your
As
your
I said,
facility?
we'll use some water trucks, and we will have a sweeper to keep the roads clean.
Do you know the percentage of reduction?
I do not.
Okay.
I don't have those figures.
Because I'm sure in 2000, there was a lot of dust, right? I'm sure in 2024, there have been some vast improvements based on technology that can help reduce that and eliminate any issues that, the residents may have.
No, and I understand. What I can speak to is one of the things I was not approached about, and I talked to quite a few residents as I live there and meet them on a daily basis or see them or have conversations with them. During the construction of the 18 units, dust was not something that was being brought up in vast amounts. So this is kind of new to me tonight, that's a major concern, but we will do everything within our power to
Sure
alleviate it.
thing, but even based on the board meetings that you have with them, this is the first time you've heard about a dust issue?
So they sent out and this was one of the residents here, and you look at everything on here, this was the first that came up, and it was last week. Just to get the brunt of dust in view of materials. So it was raised last Friday, I believe, was the first time I saw it when residents were going to get their new fob keys we were changing the system at the clubhouse.
Okay. No other
That was
questions?
the first that I heard of it.
Okay. No other questions. Thank you.
Let's go to the other end. Commissioner Hyken.
I have a bunch of questions. So the villa's construction was completed with some disregard to residents of Prairie Park. What if any improvements are going to be made to this project regarding trash, appearance of the work site, and additionally, work on Sundays and in regard to the safety of the residents from the construction workers who?
There will be no work on Sundays. The site will be fenced off completely. All the construction vehicles will be, once they drive onto the site, will stay on the site. And we'll work with the association as best we can if there's any concerns for safety and regarding construction traffic.
All right, so
And we have no problem having, meet weekly or monthly meetings with the board to accommodate or address anything that becomes a concern.
Okay. Sales office, where's that going to be located?
It's going to be located most likely within the construction trailer, which will be kind of towards the bottom of the
So within
hill
the
at the
fenced
flat.
area or outside the fenced area?
Probably within the fenced area, I would imagine.
Okay, and my other question is there sufficient room for snow to be put? You've kind of limited in parking. Where are they going to put it, and are they going to take away any parking spots?
So I would have to address that with Neil, but yeah, the way we have it set up with staff, we feel that we will have plenty of snow removal space.
Okay, and then the last thing is you have, in the new project, you have 2 handicap spots for the whole complex. What about the people that live on the outside, they want to use a handicap spot?
So
They have to walk
all of
a
these
block?
units, all of these homes have 4 parking spaces. You have 2 spaces in your garage.
Okay.
You have 2 spaces in your driveway, and then 19 additional spaces. We do feel that we more than accommodated with the code. We're at 4.4 spaces per unit compared to Prairie Park, which only has 2.3.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner Meyer.
Thank you, Chairman Johnson. Commissioner Heikens' question was similar to mine, and that was about the visitor parking ratio. But I wanted to go back because I tried to pay really close attention to everything you've said. And, you mentioned that, originally, I think it was 312 total units were planned, and now you're down to, 306 with this proposed development. At any point in time within the last 5 years, have you done any sort of traffic impact analysis? Just in terms of that Prairie Park Ring Road?
So no, we did not, and the reason that we dealt with staff on this, that we didn't feel it was necessary, was because of the number of homes was actually less than the original planned project.
Okay. Will you talk to me a little bit about utilities, okay? And how can you make sure that, in the construction of these additional units, that there won't be an impact to the surrounding areas?
All of the utilities are butt-ended already at where the road goes up,
Okay.
the gravel road, they're all there. So nothing's going to be done anywhere else within the existing Prairie Park site.
Okay. And then just back to parking for a minute. Relative to contractors, where do you foresee, staging and, your contractor vehicles being parked?
On site. It's a large site. I know density has been a big issue. Earth moving in the beginning will take 30 to 40 days, weather permitting. Hopefully it
Okay.
is good for us. But once that's done, you're going to have a leveled site. So you're going to have quite a bit of area for parking. We're not building all 6 buildings at once.
Okay, and I would expect that there'd be a fair amount of grading activities that'll be taking
That'll be
place?
the beginning. The
Okay.
first 30 to 40 days will be all excavation for the most
Okay.
part, grading.
So the one thing, and I'll try to be brief about this, and I echo, Commissioner Rao's concerns, just given what we've heard here today, is, a strong level of communication with, the various homeowner associations involved here, and trying to make sure expectations are clear. I'd also encourage you to think about, again, rather than the traditional construction type fencing, just down the road here on Dundee, Tesla did a pretty amazing job with their tarp fencing, just to, minimize those dust issues. So
You will have
again,
silt fences around the entire site.
okay, glad to hear it. That's all. Thank you.
Commissioner Smart. Put your microphone down, please.
Just so I have my numbers right, we're talking about the difference between 306 and 312, assuming the
The
proposed...
original, correct, the original plan with the 5th building where the village sits would have put you at 312
Okay.
on 17 acres.
And the 4 condo buildings plus the 18 villas, that comprised the...
That's 60, the 4 and
And the villas comprised the first PUD for Prairie Park, correct?
No, the original PUD was 5 buildings. So
Right.
where the villa sits today was planned a 5th
Right.
building, 72 units. That was later amended, changed. We came in, got approvals to do 18 townhomes
Okay.
there.
That PUD that you're talking about did not have anything on the west end. What we're doing here is a separate PUD, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You are proposing 8-unit buildings.
Yes.
I drove all around Wheeling. I cannot find a townhouse anywhere in Wheeling that's got 8 units.
So there
I
are
found
there are
4.
7.
There are 7. What are they?
I believe they're on Northgate.
There's 8?
7.
Okay.
7 and a 5.
Okay. But we would need to change the zoning, not just from R1 to R4, but also you want the additional.
Well, this is it's a PUD. So just like at Prairie Park, there are a number of departures that you ask for, such as setbacks and things
Right.
like that. That is one of the departures that we're asking for. One of the things to understand with this site is the infrastructure cost is extreme per unit. And to make the economics work, this is the number of units we needed to maintain. And once again, it's on a 7-acre site. So the density really is, it's only 6.4, whatever I said.
So when you say the financials are difficult.
Yes.
Do you need all 48 units?
Yes?
Can you do 36?
No?
It's 48 or you don't put a shovel in the ground?
Correct. And unfortunately, but that's the way life is, the economics are a driving factor, and if the numbers don't work,
They don't.
then they don't work.
Fair enough. To Commissioner Ryle's point about the, what I call like just the good neighbor thing. People have indicated here tonight that they, I believe, want more communication, maybe a heads up on what's coming.
I have no problem meeting with anyone.
I have a problem, I have a question about the fire truck turning radius. Can you help me with this?
Sure.
With this exhibit that we've got here. I understand that we're waiting, and please, correct me if I'm wrong on this, I think we're waiting for an updated one on this.
Right. Even the one they submitted was, worked, actually, but the vehicle that they used wasn't exactly Wheeling's, so we did ask them to update it, but it should actually be, if not the same, maybe even better. So the turning radius
Okay,
still works.
So, and what we see on this is on one side, the fire truck's going in one way, and on the other side of the page coming in the other way. And if I'm reading this correctly, or am I reading this correctly, that the fire trucks fit on the street?
Right, yeah. It'll make, I mean, the radius is around all that is the same, so it's gonna, even though it doesn't show it like on the right side, coming back around the middle courtyard, it's the same turning radius, so it should not have any problems there.
Okay, and to get up to the far northwest units, you would just pull the truck up there and back it out?
Right, yeah, we would just back up or pull in, and then when we're done, just back up and then pull out. We do a lot of backing with the big trucks.
Okay. While I have you, Meadow Lane.
Yes,
Meadow Lane, you requested for the secondary fire access,
right.
correct?
This way, in case something down the road, maybe they have some repairs they have to do in that center area, and we can't get down that way. That is only going to be for the fire department emergency use. That would just be our other means of ingress into the area if need be.
And there are currently 3 homes on Meadow Lane now, right?
Further down, right.
How do you get to them now?
It's a gravel road. We could get down if we had to. It's not the best road because it's not paved and it's really not that wide, but in an emergency, we can get down there.
And if I understood you correctly, the modified version we have coming, the fire truck is littler than what was
Our
depicted
wheelbase
on
is
this?
different, but it should be, I'm presuming it's going to be better turning radius.
Okay.
Yes,
So no safety issue?
Not on our
Getting
end.
it out?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I have a question for engineering. Can you explain to me again, Prairie Park Drive, or the ring road, is the only way to get into this development because Meyerson, that it goes to Meadow Lane is not developed?
Correct. Meadow Lane, yeah, Meadow Lane's not developed. There's only one way in and out of there. So obviously, if you keep going west on Meadow Lane, there's nowhere for trucks to go, essentially. So yeah, the main way in and out of here really should be through obviously the Prairie Park. That's, I mean. I don't
And
know.
there's nothing off of East Cook, or Lake Cook, rather?
No, there's a diversionary channel, unfortunately, that's kind of blocking, because this material, I believe, is going not too far. I think it's going to the 17-acre site right across the diversionary channel. Unfortunately, the diversionary channel is itself an obstacle that you can't really bridge across.
The only practical way in and out is Prairie Park Drive.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Commissioner Casper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I just have a couple of questions and a couple of comments. I'd like to thank everyone who took time out to come this evening and to sit here for what has turned into a pretty long meeting, not normal for the Plan Commission. It's refreshing to see people come and discuss different ideas, and we don't all agree, but we live in a democracy and we have the right to not agree, and we can come together and we'll move forward from here. So, Mr. Smith, if this, let's say this project is approved, would this be your last project in this particular area?
Yes, within the Prairie Park development, yes, there's
I'm
nothing.
just trying to get a
There's
look at
there's no other dirt within the access point here. The homes that we've talked about down Meadow Lane are all well below floodplain.
Okay. All right.
Barring some giant change, this is
Okay.
it.
All right, so this would be your, I mean, there's
Within the Prairie Park community, yes.
Okay, I'm just trying to get my hands around the big picture. I don't really agree with the concept about how much the traffic would increase, and again, I'm just making some comments. I don't know anyone who would buy a 3 or 4 bedroom unit with a master bedroom on the first floor and put their small children on the second floor. I don't know anybody that would parent that way. So I think I agree. I understand what your demographic you're appealing to. I think that's really all, and I don't see the argument that this development is going to attract a lot of children, especially small children. It seems to me that a lot of young couples who have families or are starting families, if they can afford a place to buy rather than rent, most of them would look for a place with a yard and or a place that's near a park. So I can't see this bringing in, at this price point, people with several children, and I don't see the numbers adding up the way that some of the people have presented. But again, I thank everybody for just participating in this process, and this is not an easy decision, so thank you.
And Commissioner Sprague.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Jamie. Welcome back.
Thank you.
The gravel path on the north property line, it mentions in the agenda that it's going to be reestablished. Are you taking it out
No,
temporarily?
so there are grindings located on the site that the Highlands is going to go. We're going to take those grindings and redo that pathway. And so it's going to come up a few inches and it's going to
So you're
be
basically
nicer.
going to improve it
Correct.
somewhat? Okay. Okay. I didn't see anything about lighting in between the buildings on the west. The space in between, and you got some kind of lighting?
There is light, if you want to pull up the lighting.
I know the lighting plan doesn't really show.
Steve, do you have the lighting plan with you? And I'm sorry, what location were you
In
at?
between the two west buildings.
In between the two.
I was just wondering about lighting there.
Here. What do you have there, in between them?
Well, the street light
will work its way partway down there, but, yes, as far as somebody needing access to the west,
I was thinking more on a safety basis, you know, just to have it lit up somewhat.
even though there are lights both on the back corner of the building and on the front porch, we could add an additional safety lighting between them.
We can, if that's what you guys want to see. You do have retaining walls and a fence back there.
Yeah.
I don't anticipate anyone walking back there, but if that's something staff wants us to address, we absolutely can.
I just wanted to bring it up to your attention that it didn't look like there was any plans for additional lighting there.
No, and I'd have to look at the landscape plan too. I'm not sure if it's really walkable, that area with the landscaping, but that we can absolutely add
Yeah.
lighting on the side of those buildings if necessary.
Going to be removing a lot of soil. What grade, is that still going to be higher than
It's going to come
the
down.
ring road?
No, yes, it's still going to be an elevated site.
It will be?
It's going to come down and be leveled approximately 5 feet, Cliff. The site, how much is it coming down from existing? Approximately 5 feet. So it'll still be elevated, you'll still be looking up the
5
hill, but
feet.
it's going to come down approximately.
You know what it is now, by chance?
The actual grade?
Yeah. Not that important, I was just wondering.
I can get approximately 650, between 654 and 655 is the existing grade.
Wow, okay.
It's well above the existing ring road, and it's still going to be well above even when we bring it down.
Okay. Let's see here, what do I want to ask next? You know, I heard a lot of concern from the residents about the streets getting damaged from the construction. Is that on you if
Any
there's
damage
damage?
is done from the construction, we would take care of it. I don't know
So
why.
they won't
No,
be responsible for that?
no. If it's caused by construction trucks or anything like that, we would take care of it.
And just to go along with a couple of the other commissioners about the dust, a water truck will go a long way.
We will get one.
So one of the residents brought up some wording issue. They wanted to know, is it the Highlands of Prairie Park or is it the Highlands and Prairie Park?
The Highlands at Prairie Park.
At?
It's just a typo on our slide.
Is that what it
Yeah,
is?
it's our typo, not
Okay,
theirs.
all right, great. And then last but not least, just maybe something to keep in the back of your mind if this goes through. It's not what you're doing, it's how you do it. Okay? All right, thanks, that's all I have.
All right, thank you. First, compliments on the packet. It was very complete, and there's a lot to go through, but you did a good job of it. Already talked about that and that. I really don't have much left. It would be nice if there was some sort of play area designed in for the final.
So as I've said, and I can't prove it, and frankly, no one can because it's opinion-based, but what I can say is I can use the 18 units as a case study. No small children.
No.
These are smaller units. They all have first floor masters. The units that I've already reserved for buyers are in the same trend.
Okay. How about pets?
Pets will be allowed once the association is turned over. That's up to those residents, similar to the villas. When that association was turned over, it's up to them to set rules if they want to limit the number of pets, limit the weight limit. I'd have to look, to be honest. I don't know off the top of my head. We mirrored Prairie Park's rules when we had to make the association up for the villas. We'll do the same for the Highlands. I believe it's a two-pet, like a 90-pound maximum, but I would have to check to verify.
All right. I think the rest of my questions were covered already. Do we want to go through the conditions of first one? Let's see.
Yeah, the first one is the rezoning from the
Zoning, yes.
R1 to R4. And it's just one condition that the rezoning is contingent upon approval of the special use for final PUD approval for the Highlands and Prairie Park. So essentially what that is the property will be officially rezoned at the same time that the final PUD is approved, that they go concurrently together. So that's for the rezoning item. Do you want me to move on to the next?
Conditions on, yeah,
The PUD?
PUD.
Sure, so the conditions with the PUD are, one, that the preliminary PUD documents revised prior to any consideration by the village board, that the street names of the preliminary plat of subdivision be revised to the acceptance of the village, and that the preliminary plat itself be revised to reflect the agreed upon street names. That's 1A, and then to add 1B, that the additional PUD deviation include the north side setback reduction from 30 feet to 22 feet, 6
Oh,
inches.
the one that was missed, yeah.
Correct. The second one would be prior to the Plan Commission's review of the final PUD submittal. To A is as-built drawings shall be submitted to the village. As-built drawings should be submitted to the village regarding MWRD permit number 21-2263, so that permit is closed out for the Villas at Prairie Park project. And to B, all outstanding items associated with the Village of Wheeling's engineering permit and the Village of Wheeling's building permits for the Villas at Prairie Park shall be completed and the open permits to be closed out. 3, that the final PUD shall include the following items. In addition to the submittal requirements of the zoning code, A, Meadow Lane shall be included on the tributary exhibit prepared by Toberman and Associates. B, the auto turning exhibit shall be revised to based on the correct wheeling fire apparatus. C, the lighting plan shall be updated to include visitor parking spaces and the sidewalk at the entrance drive. D, provide an engineer's opinion of probable cost to support the letter of credit / performance bond amount. E, provide a cost estimate covering the cost of all landscape plant material and its installation. And F, the final color and design detail of the 6-foot-tall vinyl privacy screen be provided within the site amenities plan.
Okay,
Yep.
sound good? All right, with all those conditions, does anyone have anyone on the commission have any other questions on the zoning docket? Nope. Then I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Meyer, Casper? Commissioner Meyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Casper,
Yes?
Commissioner Riles,
Yes.
Commissioner Sprague is a yes, Commissioner Smart,
No.
Commissioner Heiken,
My vote is not based on setbacks, variances, or economic viability. It's solely based on the impact and safety of the residents and the surrounding community for what could potentially be 3+ years to take to complete. Therefore, my vote is no.
Chairman Johnson.
Yes. Five, two.
5-2.
5-2.
All right. On the PUD docket, PPUD 23-0005. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Meyer?
Yeah.
Commissioner Sprague is a yes, Commissioner Meyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Riles,
Yes.
Commissioner Casper,
Yes.
Commissioner Smart,
No.
Commissioner Heiken,
No.
Chairman Johnson.
Yes.
Also 5-2.
All right, so let's close out the public hearings on PRZ 24-002 and PPUD 23-005.
Second. Smart and Sprague. Commissioner Smart. Commissioner Sprague is a yes. Commissioner Riles.
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer.
Yes.
Commissioner Casper.
Yes.
Commissioner Heiken.
No.
You don't want to close the,
Oh, that, yes. I'm looking at something.
you want to stay longer?
No, let's stay a little longer.
Sharon Johnson.
Yes.
Wasn't paying attention.
Okay, so the last piece of this is docket PSUB PP 24-0005, request for preliminary plat approval. Does anyone have questions on this? Down here, anyone? Rick?
No.
No. My only question was, is it still going to be considered 5 and 200 Meadow Lane?
No, those are the current parcel addresses. So once this gets recorded, in conjunction with that, the village will prepare an address reassignment for this plat. So it'll be part of the condition that was on the previous, and the same condition that applies to this
street
plat
names.
is to finalize the street names.
Okay.
The village is not recommending nor supporting continuing the use of Prairie Park Drive because we feel that this is a separate street network and to follow the street addressing system. So we will work with the petitioner on a new name that fits within
We
that.
had talked about Highlands Circle.
Yeah,
We'll
and
see if that
and so
works.
we will work with that, between engineering, community development, and the petitioner on addressing, so that
So
will be
the new
taken care of.
plat would be based on whatever the new
Yes,
street
that would-
names are?
right, right.
Okay. All right, that was the only question I had. So, a motion on this one.
So moved.
Second.
Meyer, Casper. Commissioner Meyer.
Yes.
Commissioner Casper.
Yes.
Commissioner Riles.
Yes.
Commissioner Sprague is a yes. Commissioner Smart. No. Commissioner Heiken.
No.
Chairman Johnson.
Yes. Again, 5-2.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
We are done.
Thank you.
And I want to thank the audience for being patient with us, being respectful for each other. We've had meetings that get really nasty at times. You guys were all great. It was a pleasure. Okay.
There's no approval of minutes.
Business and,
We have no minutes.
no minutes.
We're still in a
Hang on a
meeting.
second. Give them a couple minutes to get out. We still have a little bit of business to do, so please move out.
We're still in the middle of a meeting.
Yes.
Well, and
Well,
if there's
any
any
other
other business,
Hey, guys, we're still in a meeting,
so
so, like, we haven't finished our meeting yet.
welcome to leave.
You're
but-
welcome to leave, but we still have stuff to talk about.
Okay. So as stated, we do not have any minutes to approve due to our canceled meeting last time. So, any other business?
No.
Steve, anything?
Just a reminder that the next plan commission is a joint workshop meeting with the village board. That'll be, agenda will go out, but that will be the joint village board plan commission workshop over at the Public Works facility.
It starts at 5:30?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And we'll send out another reminder and confirmation of that prior to
It's
that.
our normal meeting date, so it's the 1 in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All the other new business was in the news already, so between Moretti's and Cilantro Taco Grill. Okay, motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are done.